Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
How is everybody? Everybody good?
Good.
Good? Oh, I just got my alert that we are live.
All right.
I never believe it until I get my alert. How is everyone? Look at everybody in chat. Loads of familiar faces.
Hi, guys.
There's Irvin. Hi, Irvin.
Hi, Irvin. Hi, Medic25. Hi, Monica. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Jennifer.
We'll
Hi,
give everybody
Mandy.
a wee chance to jump in.
Yeah.
Because I just got my alert like 2 ticks ago, so.
Hi, Jamie. Yeah, we just wait for another minute. Hi, Casey.
What's everybody's crack then? Is everyone having a nice bank holiday weekend if you're in the UK?
Hi, Catherine. Hi, Michelle. Bank holiday weekend?
Yeah. Long bank holiday weekend.
Oh, this is the day where you go into pubs and stuff on Monday?
Oh, that's Monday.
Oh, okay.
But I might or might not be having a glass of wine. Let's just keep that to ourselves. Because, it would be rude not to. So, how is everybody? There's Canadian in the house.
Hi, Canadian mama.
Oh, let me see. Who else do I recognise?
Everybody.
Yeah, everyone. We got loads of folks in tonight again. Good to see.
Good to see everybody.
Yeah. Oh, Monica, you catching the first live? That's good.
Oh, cool.
Happy days.
Happy days.
Happy days. Do you guys say happy days, Tanya? No?
Huh?
Do you say happy days now in Germany? Happy
No.
days. But yeah, Sarah Jane, you're right. First day of warm weather. It was stonkingly hot today. I was in the car and it was roasting. Really hot. And let's face it, we're not designed for that sort of weather.
No,
Northern
you
Irish
guys are
people,
feeling.
no. We're like huskies in the heat. We're just
Right?
not prepared. Not at all.
Okay, what are we gonna do today? We show you some stuff about evidence, and we go into the weather a little bit as well. The weather in 2018.
Yeah, oh my
Hey
goodness.
Monika, einen schönen guten Tag an dich auch.
Monica's testing my German.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I just went as far as GCSE German and
Oh,
didn't go any further, but I stupidly chose German because I was better at French, but I just decided to do German and that was a really bad mistake. I should have done French. My German accent was
why?
shocking.
German is such a nice language.
It is, but I was just so bad at it.
But I guess when you have to learn it, like from zero, it's really hard.
Oh, really hard. Yeah. Really hard.
My daughter is having Japanese next year in school. Oh my
Oh my
God.
goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't even imagine where you would start.
She had French already, Spanish, then what else? What else was there? Some other language? I can't even remember. I mean, English, of course. She grew up, with that language, but yeah, Japanese they have.
Yeah, I'm
They
not
push the
naturally
kids
gifted at
into,
it.
they push the kids into working worldwide,
Oh,
basically.
definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
You need
Good.
it now, don't you?
What?
You need to have the languages now, especially if you're going to do stuff online as well.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. All right. So I think we can dive
Yeah, guys, let's roll.
into the evidence today. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit out of order today as my granddad was having a massive surgery and they found cancer on him. So most of that stuff is Danielle's work, to be honest with you guys. So yeah, let's just go in.
It's been a tough week for Tanya. Tough week, tough time ahead. We'll do
Right.
our best. We'll do our best for you anyway.
Oh, definitely. All right, so we're talking about the evidence, like I said today. Where is the evidence? What was tested? What was not? What was destroyed? What was not? And all this kinds of stuff. And also, I want to talk a little bit about what would be, suitable or evidence they can use in court and they can't use in court. So let's dive right into Nate's surveillance camera. So Nate is using the Xfinity, former known as Comcast. They are the same thing. At their roots, Xfinity and Comcast are the same thing. Comcast is the parent company, and Xfinity is Comcast's brand for TV, internet, and home phone services. So why is Comcast now called Xfinity? Comcast, the biggest cable provider in the United States, is changing its name. According to the company's blog, Xfinity will now replace Comcast as the company's new product name in an attempt to show customers that is not the same old company, but rather an innovator. So that was in 2010. And I'm just bringing that up because some people say, oh, he used Comcast, and other people say he used Xfinity. So it's both the same thing. So understanding the system. How does the Xfinity motion sensor work? So Nate clearly had a motion activated camera. An Xfinity home motion sensor detects unexpected motion in large sections of your home while you're away. Set rules to get real-time alerts or trigger other connected devices like lightning when activity is detected. So the light goes on. We can see that in his footage that was made public. We can see the motion is detected and a little light goes on. Does Xfinity security camera record? Some say it doesn't, but it definitely does record, and it records 24/7. 24/7 video recording can run on an compatible Xfinity camera for up to 6 cameras at a time. When it's turned on, the camera continuously records video and saves it to the cloud for 7 days. So Xfinity itself saves or stores the footage in a cloud, but Nate obviously had recorded it on his home recorder, so it's available all the time. So that's Nate's Xfinity system. As you see on the left, that's his camera. And as you see on the right, it's just a screenshot of what his camera recorded. It says under the time, it says, I'm so lost today.
Okay.
It says motion detected. So it gives you the time, exact time, even the seconds. So, and on top, you can see a screenshot of the discovery where it says on August the 14th at approximately 9:15 hours, Officer Dahl was asked to respond to 2905 Saratoga Trail and obtain video footage from Nathan. Detective Baumhofer gave 3 times to check 1:45 hours, 5:30 hours, and 12:47 hours on August the 13th. Nate showed Officer Dahl video footage. Officer Dahl recorded the video footage and will have it attached to the case. Nate was asked for all the video footage for the 13th. Nate said he would have his wife contact Xfinity and have the video footage transferred. Nate said he would contact Officer Dahl when the footage was available. Nate provided a phone number. So he had to ask his wife to get all the footage, but he his system stored it anyway. So this is how a motion activated camera records, and the meaning of FPS, that's frame per second, so short for frame per second. What is a frame rate? A frame rate expressed as FPS, or frames per second, is the number of frames or images your camera can take per second. The current industry standard for clear, smooth video, even with moving objects, is 30 FPS. Although the quality of video you're hoping to capture and your network's bandwidth heavily influence what frame rate will work best for you. 30 FPS is the standard rate for your television, since it results in a smooth movement of people and objects between frames. So, and on the right, I don't go through this all, but on the right you can see the differences between frame rates. It goes down to 15 FPS as well. So it depends all on your internet connection as well. So if you even if you have a high frame rate recording and your internet is really bad or you have no connection, the frame rate drops.
Right.
So reasons for delays, which we also see in Nate's footage, could be like what I said, the wireless transmission is a potentially cause delays. If it occurs while the wireless security camera system, the reason could be short broadband or bad internet, meanwhile using a high definition video surveillance equipment, or maybe the bad quality of your internet. So this is the Accent body cam runs on a normal speed, so on a normal frame per second, and I show you how that looks when you record normally.
What's that?
Nothing on there. My camera. Lay down.
Loading my stuff up in my coolers, my water jugs, my book bag, my computers, some of the tools that I have from the toolbox. I knew I was going to have to do some pumping in a rubber.
So this is normal speed. Then we take a look at Nate's actual footage, and you can see exactly what I mean. See, like how he is ghosting himself?
Right.
No clear movements. Here again. I did the loops, by the way.
It's as if he has a veil around him that's following him.
Right, exactly. And this is the Vivint. I mean, we can watch it again just to make it clear. Oops, sorry. It's like he has 7 heads or something following him.
Exactly. He looks all distorted.
Yeah. And this is why I also don't believe that there were any shadows. But yeah, so this is the Vivint doorbell footage, standard recording, frames per second. And some people were asking, why is there no timestamp? So Vivint does not provide timestamps on the actual footage, but you can see time and date when you view the footage on your device.
Right, you can see how much clearer that footage is.
Yeah, definitely. And also because we hear sound here, in Nate's security surveillance camera, he could have had set up audio as well. I don't know why he didn't do it. So he had the option. So let's take a look at the delays of Nate's camera. For example, at 1:48:40 a.m., 40 seconds a.m., Shanann coming home, phone connects to the home router. Underneath, you see an excerpt of the home router logs. Underneath, you see that CW used Mountain Daylight Time in his router. That means you have to add 2 hours to that router log. So it's actually 1:48, and it says it's 23:48 hours and 40 seconds. So Nate's cam starts recording the motion activated at 1:48 and 59 seconds. That is also the reason you don't see Shanann walking up to the door. And underneath, you see a screenshot where he basically catches, or the motion activates when NA is leaving. So there's a delay of 19 seconds.
19 seconds is a
Counted up.
crazy amount of time.
Right. So example number 2 I have, that's what starts his work truck according to his geotab, and they are on time, like they are so exact and accurate at 5:18 and 2 seconds. And Nate's cam starts recording, so the motion activated again at 5:18 and 30 seconds. So this is a delay of 28 seconds. And this is also the reason you see, some people say somebody else is walking out of the house, but within those 30 seconds, he could have went back and forth like 6 times, 7 times. So it's definitely him walking out that house.
Right. That's a huge delay.
Yeah. So would have Nate's footage count as reliable evidence in court? Probably not. That's the reason is it's motion activated, so they never have exact times. They always have a delay. Then Nate had obvious bad internet connection and low recording of the frames per second. And he also had a delay of up to 30 seconds. So now you know why the shadows, or the theory of the shadows, are highly unlikely. I think it's just, like him ghosting himself, or, you think that he is carrying something or picking up something, or, we cannot say for sure. But I did only put up 2 examples, but I'm pretty sure if I dig deeper into that, and with the seconds, that system gives us, I find way more on this.
Right. And like we discussed earlier today, when you listen to the extended version of Coonrod's body cam and you hear him talking to the other officer, and they're kind of just talking between themselves out the back, when Baumhover's in the house, and it's the extended version of the body cam, and he's the guy who's turned up late is kind of going, well, how do you know that she didn't leave the house? And he's saying, oh, well, we were in the Neighbours and we watched, but his camera system's kind of, it's not great, and there's these gaps, and it's a motion sensor, so really it could have missed her being picked up by someone, which I actually think is really, intuitive. That Coonrod immediately realizes that Nate's system isn't great, and he's not sort of taking it as any kind of slam dunk evidence that there's anything, sinister going on at that point. And he mentions Neighbours that he's already spotted cameras on that he wants to go check out.
Right. So like we see, Shanann walks up 1:48, 40 seconds. This is when her phone connects to the router, and Nate's camera starts only recording at 1:48, 59 seconds. So she had basically 19 seconds to get to the door. This is why they didn't catch her. All right, then I give over to Danielle.
Yeah, so we're going to discuss a big question that everybody always likes to talk about, and here again, loads of misinformation and people saying that things weren't tested and they were, and vice versa. So we're just going to go over all the evidence, and we've broken it down into different areas, so it's a bit easier to kind of chew for anybody that's just joining in, because we realise there's a lot of people that are quite new to the case, and it's just easier little chunks of information. So we're going to have a wee look. So if you can see on the screen, 188 items were in the discovery, 188 listed as items of evidence. Now, to be fair, about 80 of those were things like officers' body cams, reports, things that weren't actually physical items of evidence, but they classed as an item that would need to be signed in court as an evidence. So 188, and there's about 105 that are actual physical pieces of various evidence. So this is the Saratoga timeline. So we are talking about the house here, and only the house. So everybody talks about how quickly the house was searched, and that absolutely is the case. But we forget that there wasn't just the Wednesday evening searches, there was the other day. So if we start on the timeline, for anyone that's not looking at their screens at the minute, we'll run through it for you. So Monday the 13th, when this all kicked off and the authorities are alerted. So you've got CW allows a preliminary search of the property. Then you've got Tuesday the 14th. In the morning, CW allows the canines to come and Frederick PD officers into the home. And we'll go into that in a bit more detail. In the evening of Tuesday, CW is on his way to the Thayer's house, and he gets a call from Special Agent Coder at the Frederick Police Station, who asks him to come for a meeting. And that's when he's going through one of the famous sort of talks about him losing weight and all that jazz. And basically what Coder says at the end of, listen, will you stay out of the way for me while our forensic team go into the house? Is that okay? And because at this stage it's already after 10, he says, look, they'll only be there for a while this evening, and then they're going to pick it up again likely very early in the morning. So will you please stay out of the way? And let us process it without you being there. Is that okay? And, you won't go there without letting us know, will you? And C-Dub says, no, that's fine. I'll stay out of the way. I'm going to stay in the Thayers. And he's already got his stuff in the trunk for going to the Thayers. And the Thayers actually sat outside and waited on him for like 4 hours. So they were, being really good friends to him on the Tuesday. So, and that's what he does. He goes and he stays there. And then in the morning, he leaves and he goes picks up Ronnie Watts from the airport. So that's the Tuesday evening. They do return on the Wednesday morning around 6 a.m. and the search continues. The CBI are on scene as well as the Frederick PD, but the CBI do not take anything into their possession. It's only Frederick PD that's processing evidence at this point. So that's quite important, because when it gets to the site, it's the completely opposite way around. So Frederick PD are in charge of everything, in charge of all of the evidence collection at the house. And then on Wednesday evening, obviously, we've got past the point of needing any other further collection, but we're going back now with a solid confession of at least Shanann's murder. So on the PM, CW is arrested approximately 6 o'clock. Search warrant issued by the judge. The house is taped off outside approximately 10 o'clock, and the search begins. So that's the timeline that we're going to look at in more detail in a wee second. So 2825 Saratoga Trail, the crime scene. So basically the agenda here for the law enforcement is to link a deceased Shanann Watts to the inside of the home, garage and drive. Now, when we're talking about this, we are now putting ourselves in the position of post Wednesday, okay? Because they are now, even on Tuesday, they're thinking it's something more than a missing person. So they're forensically processing it that way. So I hear people say a lot, oh, but it was only a missing person at that point. That's true, but they were forensically processing it as if it was a wee bit more. So they want to link the bodies of the two children to their bedrooms or the garage, because that's where they think something happened from the footage that Nate has. So basically, that's their agenda. They want to link bodies of the children and Shanann to the bedrooms, the garage, and potentially the staircase for Shanann. So what they did, and it's not an exhaustive list because really it wasn't that much done, but they removed dozens of items from the home over the 4 visits. So we list the various things, but they removed a significant amount, but not a vast amount in my opinion, considering it was a triple homicide. They sprayed the home with Blue Star latent bloodstain reactant. So it's like luminol. So people talk about luminol all the time. It's pretty much the same thing. Blue Star is just a brand of luminol, and you can see it in the image there. Lights up underneath the black light and the fluorescence, and shows any kind of biological matter, blood. It's primarily for blood, but any kind of biological waste or matter, it will show up. So it's important to note there was no positive results from any of the areas that were treated with Blue Star, not the laundry room, the sink, shower, bath, basement, or garage, or anything positive alerted. There was nothing. So that's a little snippet at the bottom from the actual discovery. It says scene processing. I have to zoom in a wee bit on that one. I can't see it that clearly. Photos were taken of the scene. Blue Star latent blood reagent, I can never say that properly, was applied to all bathroom fixtures, tub, shower, sink, toilet. And then basically it's saying there was no signs of chemiluminescence, which is basically it lighting up. So it does say it was applied to the locations where the searching canines had alerted. And that was the mudroom and the garage. They had showed initial alerts, but not final alerts, and at the top of the basement stairs in the hallway to the mudroom. So there was no signs of chemiluminescence were observed in these areas as well. So prior to testing, positive and negative presumptive tests were done. So they did test to make sure that the Blue Star was working. So they just did that before they started. So then the next part is about the canines, and again, the snippets on screen from the discovery. There's it's really important to note that there was different handlers, and these are on screen for anybody that wants to screen grab them or pause when they go back and really zoom in and read them. The page number I think is on the main one there that the snippets are taken from. But to kind of explain to you guys that are new to it a bit. So the canines, there's been a lot of talk about what sort of dogs were they? Were they cadaver dogs? Were they bloodhounds? Were they track dogs, search dogs? And there are so many different types, okay? So there's no such thing as a trauma dog. It just doesn't exist. They talk about certain types of dogs alerting to trauma, but that's totally different. There's not a specific dog trained for trauma. So what they alert to is the chemical changes that your body gives off when you're in a state of fight or flight, or basically the changes in your perspiration. They can sense that in the air. It's left in the air. So they know if there's been something that's been a traumatic event, but there is no such thing really as a trauma dog. So what we're discussing here is, and why it's important, the dogs came on Tuesday morning, and it's that famous footage of when the TV cameras are there and one of the dogs is arriving. And a lot of people comment on Jane, who we'll get into in a wee second, whose dog was a SARATOGA dog. So it's the search and rescue dog of the United States. That's what SARATOGA is for. So a lot of people comment on her handling of the dog. I'm not a massive fan of what I saw on the camera in regards to her handling. I do think there was an awful lot of chat going on with the other handler and the officer, and not enough being paid attention to the dog. However, she is very well known in her industry. And we have to remember as well that the Sardis dogs volunteered to be there on Tuesday morning. They weren't actually called to the site, so they volunteered their services. And the other handler, who was from Boulder County, she was a canine handler. She was not a Sardis member of staff. She came over and got permission from her police department to go out of her area and come over and help Frederick out. So basically what we're going to discuss then on the next page, if you flip over for me, Tanya. So you've got 3 different dogs and their handlers attending the scene all together on Tuesday. You've got Jane Z, who was from Sardis with her canine Labrador. It was a cadaver Labrador. So it does state, this is all information from the discovery. So it does state her dog was a cadaver dog. So that was the dark chocolate brown Labrador that you see. Then you've got Deputy Katie, I think it's Tack, is it how it's pronounced? She's the one from Boulder. So she came with her bloodhound, who was a canine called Scout. It didn't actually say anything else about him in regards to whether he is a cadaver dog, but it didn't state in any specifics. And then you've got Ranger Jeff Hebert with the other Sardis dog, who was a German Shepherd. And you see him going in the front doors in one of the famous pictures, past the Thayers and Watts who are standing outside. So here's a summary of what the various agencies had to say about the various searches. No indicators in the garage, no final alerts in the basement, and no tracks leading away from the home. So that was from the 3 separate reports. So we know that they went all through the neighbourhood. There's other creators covering this in depth, so I'm not going to get into it in a big load of detail, because really it's been done to death. But what I would say is it's really important to hear people saying all the time things like, oh, the dog's hit, the dog's hit. There's a real difference between a dog signalling and then confirming a hit. And from what I understand and from what I've researched, they must have a final hit. And Tammy Lee and one of the other CBI officers, in their report after they arrived at the command post on Tuesday morning, they were waiting for the signal to come through that the second dog who was being brought through the house, who I believe was Jeff Hebert's German Shepherd, to come through after Jane's dog, would have been the one. Then they're waiting on the second hit, and it didn't alert a second time on the same area. In fact, his dog didn't alert at all. So, and I believe Tanya mentioned that before in the last live, maybe, when we say like he didn't even bother going upstairs.
Right.
He said there was no point. Isn't that right, Tanya?
Yeah.
Yeah, he commented there was no point, that nothing happened here. The dog
There
would
were
have
no
been,
dead bodies here, he said. Or something that along those lines, yeah.
yeah, there's just no way. So between the 3 dogs, nothing of significance. Yes, there was at the truck, and we're going to move on to that in a wee second, there was a hit, but it was on the outside of the truck, and it was Jane's dog. So if we move on, we'll have a wee look at that. So something wicked this way comes is this slide. Basically, there's 2 very contradicting reports, and this is a bit that bothers me a little bit. So you've got Officer Lyons, who's Catherine Lyons of the FPD, and what she is saying is that Jane and her dog, the Sardis dog, the chocolate lab, this is her report based on what she's saying happened with the truck. Okay, so Chris's truck. So I'll just take you to the end bit. It's just basically saying that Deputy Perez remained with Chris. We'll show you him in a wee second. They stayed at the front door. They stayed out of the way so that at any time Watts wanted to stop the search, he could. Officer Lyons entered the home with Jane and her canine. She is a cadaver dog. They moved through the home, blah, blah, blah. All of this we've already heard. And then it said, The dog did not locate any human remains. The search continued from the neighbourhood clubhouse west and then north, circling back to the home without success. Jane's dog was later taken to Chris's work truck, which was parked just east of his home. Jane stated that the dog detected but gave no hard command. However, the dog did not enter the vehicle and the doors to the vehicle remained closed. So she's being very specific that the dog didn't enter the vehicle, the doors remained closed. So I would take from that she's saying it didn't jump up on the flatbed at the back, and it didn't go inside the truck in the cab. So that's what I take from that. So why is this Officer Lyons telling fibs about the dog search of the truck? Because let's take a look at what Officer Perez, who's standing at the front door, says. So Officer Perez says Christopher's work truck was parked just northeast in front of the houses on the north side of the street, facing west. One of the dogs was taken to the work truck, and Jane advised that the dog showed interest in the truck. Jane stated the dog did not alert for any human remains inside the vehicle, but the dog caught the scent of one of the 3 missing parties. Command staff was advised. So, again, Jane stated the dog did not alert for any human remains inside the vehicle. So why is this guy saying that the Labrador went inside the vehicle when his colleague is saying very, very clearly the doors remained closed and it didn't search inside the vehicle? Because both of them are quite clearly there at the same time. They're speaking of what Jane, the dog handler, said. So how can it be so very different? He either did go in the truck or he didn't.
This
So I
is
just think
all the way through in those reports,
yeah, it's contradicting.
They've been together
crazy.
at the crime scene, 2 officers, and one states completely different things than the other.
Exactly. So it's another one of those things, and it's really, really important. It's really, really important point. And a lot of people were mentioning as well why Chris moved the truck, but you have to remember this is an APC Anadarko vehicle. If I had a work vehicle and I knew that the news media were turning up, I would move my work vehicle out of the way because the outside of the truck was branded. There was like a little branding on the side of it. Plus it had the branding on the back window to do with Anadarko. So I wouldn't have wanted, I mean, if I was Anadarko, I would have been pretty miffed off if I had seen one of our trucks pop up on the news. So I'm not surprised at all that he moved it up the street. So I had this conversation with somebody recently. They were like, oh, he was being so shifty moving the truck. No, he moved the truck up the street, but he did it in full view of about 5 different uniformed officers who were all flyering the street.
Right.
So he wasn't doing it, on the shifty, as we say. He wasn't trying to be, cagey about it. He was being quite obvious, actually. But I would have done the same thing if I had a company fleet vehicle sitting at my front door and I knew the media were going to turn up at any moment because he was waiting for them arriving to film with him and NA. So if we move on. So Saratoga items taken into evidence. This list is not exhaustive but includes the following: bedding from all 3 bedrooms, clothing from the laundry hampers, clothing from the bedroom belonging to Shanann Watts and Christopher Watts, blue nitrile gloves, electronics including Echo, the router, iPads, laptops, phones and smartwatches, books, and bags from the various trash cans around the home. So what you'll see at the top is a little excerpt from a CBI officer, Yoakum, and he says, sorry, it's so tiny, I'm trying to remember. He says that none of the evidence CBI released Saratoga at 10:45 a.m. on the Wednesday morning. So remember I said they went on the Tuesday evening when Chris was at the cop station, and then they went back on the Wednesday morning. Well, he was there from really early Wednesday, and they released it at 10:45. But the most important thing about this part of his report is that it says again and reaffirms no evidence was collected by the CBI, so they didn't take anything into evidence, nothing at all. So that's quite important, I think, that we realise that they didn't take anything. And then this guy at the bottom, and the reason why he's there, that's a picture of Celeste's bedroom, God lover, and it's actually taken from a video of him stripping the bed, and he folds the bedding all up into a little pile, and this is the point when he puts it into a black trash bag, which to me is just ridiculous. And in doing obviously some investigating into this, that is just not the way evidence is collected. And people were sort of saying, but it's bulky, it's, they're big items, it wouldn't go into a paper bag. Yeah, they use totes, they don't use black trash bags that could be ripped, or anyone could get into them very easily to tamper with any of the evidence. The whole point is that it would be put into a sterile tote and sealed for testing. It wouldn't go into a black bag.
And they have those massive paper bags as well.
Right, the huge ones that you see them bringing out that are like the size of a person.
And they all they all get labeled at the scene.
Right, exactly. Everything gets logged and given its evidence number and its corresponding tag on the evidence log. So this guy, as I say, if you can see the camera person who's wearing the body worn camera, his hands are open holding the black bin bag / trash bag open, and this guy is bunging the bedding from Celeste's bed into this trash bag. And quite frankly, when he's doing it, it's touching his clothing, it's touching his shirt, it's touching the leg of his pants. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, they don't wear suits either,
No,
I mean, hair from his arms or
that was the first thing I noticed.
Fall into this bag.
That's the first thing I noticed. I don't know if that's just an American thing, but I mean, here, if you were to see forensic processing happening in the UK, they go in suited up. They're fully masked, full body white forensic suits.
Right.
So I find this very bizarre that this guy's just wearing a pair of gloves. Not even a face mask to stop any kind of, breathing or spitting or anything onto any of the materials. I just can't believe it's just a pair of gloves. That's it.
And keep in mind also, these are just normal police officers. This is not a forensics team that goes into a crime scene to collect evidence. These are no trained people.
Right, exactly. They're not evidence techs. Now, Yoakum, the guy who wrote the report that you see the excerpt from at the top of the page, he is a crime scene analyst. So he should be controlling this. They work for the CBI. They're crime scene analysts. These guys are dealing with forensics all the time. I don't understand why they let Frederick PD run this.
Right.
The evidence collection, was so shoddy. And anyway, that's what we're going to move on to, because who are we to talk about it? Let's talk to a professional. So we'll talk about that in a second. So this is a little clip for you guys. This one blows my mind, okay? We'll just play it and we'll talk about it after.
What were you guys saying about red on the stairwell? I didn't see what he's talking about. No. When I look pretty thoroughly everywhere and I'm not. Yeah, no, it's.
No gloves.
Here we go.
Like wax or something. It's not blood.
Right, now I'm not being funny, but here's the 3 things that bug me. Number 1, he's crawling all over the carpet with no gloves on. So he's putting his hands all over that carpet with no gloves on. And then he's touching the actual stain, the red stain. Now, whether it is wax or not, Officer Coonrod does not and cannot possibly know that. So, what is he playing at? Like, why is he doing that? And then the fact, as I say, he's on his hands and knees. He's making the assumption, oh yeah, it looks like wax, and then he rubs it with his finger. What was he going to do if that was a blood spot that he then dislodged and smeared? Like, what was he going to do? You can't rewind that.
Right.
It's just crazy. He is not an evidence technician, and not to mention the fact he's also based out of Frederick, which is a small town. I very much doubt there's very many homicides in Frederick. I mean, really, how much, time has he really spent looking at a crime scene where there's been blood spatter? He isn't Dr. Spitz. It's ridiculous. I am sorry for laughing. I know it's a serious subject, but it's so ridiculous, guys. Like, I mean, what was he going to do right there and then if that was a semi-dried portion of blood that just smeared with his finger touching it? I
Right.
mean, I'm actually quite surprised he didn't lick his finger at this point.
Ugh.
Like, so what are you doing? What are you doing, man? So yeah, it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
So if we move on to the next one, and as I say, this is your one, Tanya. Tanya
Yeah.
spotted this little cracker.
So we see to the left that an officer pulls out some medication of Shannon's purse without any gloves, dirty fingernails, and whatever. And when they did actually get the search warrant from the judge, they all of a sudden use gloves but touch the same pill bottle as well. So it doesn't matter if you wear gloves now because this thing is already contaminated.
Yeah, it's too late.
It's, I mean, this is probably not a piece of crucial evidence, but still, just to make clear to you guys how they have been working,
Right, but
Ridiculous.
they know that that's not crucial because they don't know that a tox screen isn't going to show up that that's what she's been drugged with.
Right.
So they don't know. They can't possibly know at that point that it's
Exactly.
not crucial, and they can't possibly know either that what's supposed to be in that bottle is what's in it. So there's no possible way to know that.
Right.
So guys, oh sorry if you heard beeping there, it's my phone just charging. So what would you say if I told you the forensic processing of Saratoga Trail after his confession was completed in less than 2 hours? Less than 2 hours, guys. Now, to give you something to compare it to, the forensic processing of the Stephen Avery trailer. Now, this was a trailer, okay? So for us in the UK, a caravan. This was a small space. It didn't even have really what would be called separate rooms apart from the bedroom being separated. It was tiny. I don't know what the square footage was, but they took an entire day and a half to process that. This house, which had a 4,000 square foot basement alone with dozens and dozens and dozens of totes of storage in it, then it also had obviously the closets, all the bedrooms, the massive kitchen. Then you've got the huge garage as well. And they processed that in under 2 hours. I mean, that's just crazy. So if you see in the picture, that's the breaking news team outside at 10 o'clock. It says on their little timer there, 10:02, breaking news, 10 o'clock news on Denver 7. The house is taped off. And then in the picture below, that's the two assistant DAs for Weld County arriving at the house on Wednesday evening. So we'll go on to the next one. So here's the rundown of Wednesday evening. So keep it in mind, C-Dub's just confessed around tea time. They've dropped Ronnie off at his hotel. What everyone thinks is happening is he said he did kill Shanann, but that Shanann killed the baby. So that's the narrative that they've got to go into the house with. And we've got them arriving at 10 o'clock. And then this is the times taken from the discovery. So they arrive on scene just before 10, 10:12, 22:12. The warrant is executed. It's photographed for a timestamp with Detective Baumhover. Then 4 minutes later, the tow truck company arrives, that's Brad's Towing, to remove both vehicles for processing. Then just under an hour later at 23:12, the two assistant DAs, Wren and Roach, arrive on scene. That's the two that you just saw in that photograph. And then 16 minutes later at 23:28, the evidence log is completed. And approximately 40 minutes later at 11 minutes past midnight, the door of Saratoga is sealed and the property is released by the District Attorney Rourke. So 11 minutes past midnight. So that is 1 hour and 59 minutes flat. And what is really important about that, guys, is that Shanann Watts wasn't exhumed from her grave for another 9 minutes, according to official time records. So what was going to happen? They've handed this house back. We're done and dusted, guys. It's the defence's team now. They can do whatever they want with the house. What was going to happen if they pulled Shanann Watts out of her grave and that lady was stabbed to death, or had a bullet wound, or had been, murdered in some other way other than being strangled as he had told them? They were pretty much hitching their wagon to the idea that, he's told the truth. And they weren't leaving anything open to any other narrative. So if they had pulled her out and she had 3 stab wounds to the chest, what were they going to do? You can't just turn around and say, sorry guys, actually we jumped the gun, we need back into the house. You're supposed to wait until the autopsies are done so that the coroner can tell you, or the medical examiner or pathologist in this case, can say, right, listen, she died from a stab wound from what looks like a star-headed screwdriver, so that you can go back and look for that. So this is normal procedure for them to release what to them was the crime scene, because you have to take out of your mind they didn't know anything about any other alternative story of children being killed at Survey at this point. So they think everybody's dead in this house. So the fact that they could have even took the girls out of the tanks and realized that the ligatures had been used around their necks, and then they're having to go and start working out, well, what did he use to strangle them? Because you're taking him at face value, which is a big gamble. So, guys, to release a crime scene before a victim's body is recovered is simply unheard of. It's unheard of. It just doesn't happen. And in cases where a body hasn't yet been located, the house would remain sealed. It's as simple as that. So the fact that it was released before she was even exhumed is just unfathomable. It's just crazy. So if we go on to the next one there, Tanya. So these are the guys who a lot of people made quite derogatory remarks about the lady in the front there in the blue. But I actually really like her. I thought she was really professional, and I like her a lot. So let's introduce you to her. So her name's Selma Yolanda Maria Cheveld, which is a bit of a mouthful. And she's the owner of an independent forensics company called Independent Forensic Services Colorado, along with her husband Richard, who's to her right, or to the right of the picture, excuse me. And she has dealt with processing hundreds of crime scenes of all various crimes, varying degrees of severity. So the other picture is a famous picture now of the defense team, including Selma and Richard, leaving.
Including totes for the evidence?
Yes, including totes, not big bags. But yes, she's making her way out there. You can see her at the front with her bags. So basically, we're going to listen to see in a minute what Selma had to say. But she was there on Friday, and it's the most ridiculous thing ever. The reason why we even have body-worn camera footage of this incident, but I'm glad in a way we do. So this is what Selma had to say. Who did the trace recovery here? Oh, sorry, Tanya, I moved too quick. I just wanted to read out her wee bit at the bottom.
Oh, sorry.
You're okay.
I'm sorry.
No,
I
don't
thought
worry.
we were already
Don't
at the
worry.
next one.
No, don't worry. Who did the trace recovery here? Who took the samples? I was just wondering because we don't see any sign from where samples were taken. Normally, we have a lot of those signs, and she's meaning forensic markers. She sort of indicates towards them, which you'll see in the video, where we took anything, but we don't. So, and then that's the end of her sentence. So I just wrote down little points about what she said because she speaks quite quickly and it's quite difficult to hear on the body-worn camera. And most importantly, she said, it looks pristine. So what you have to understand is when a scene has been forensically processed, you're going to be coming in to spray everywhere. I don't know if anybody's ever had like a vehicle broken into and they've printed anything for, they've dusted it for prints. That stuff is a nightmare to get off. It is everywhere. It is like coal dust. So you're going to have print dusting. You're going to have pieces of the carpet cut up, especially on the stairs. If he's saying that he dragged her body down the stairs, they are going to have tested, sprayed, and cut samples of that carpet. And that's what she's saying. There's nothing. Nothing at all. So just like with the autopsy, the defense team need to know what they're looking at, as in damage to the home or, markers of where damage has happened has been caused by the defense or the prosecution team and by the state, as opposed to something that's to do with the crime, so that they're not looking at it as evidence. So that's why one team leaves markers for the other one to say, no, that was us, we did that. So just like at the autopsy, when someone says, that's a postmortem artifact, in other words, ignore that, that's nothing to do with the crime, that's just us. That's nothing for you to make an assumption from. It's not part of the narrative. So that's why they leave markers for the next team coming in. So Selma's saying, none of those little markers, those little signs are here to tell us what they took. So what exactly did they do? So let's listen to Selma anyway and see what she has to say. And also we have a little video of the same. It makes sense if we play it first, actually, of the house being released by the DA. So just tell you guys, if you've never seen this, I'm sure you all have. But the video that we're about to play first on the left is the team, I think it was 3 police officers who respond to Saratoga Trail on the morning of Friday. It's around lunchtime, around 1:30, because Nate called them and said that a burglary was in progress and that a man in a suit was in there along with other people who were taking photographs, and he thought they shouldn't be in there. Now, in my opinion, it was the most ridiculous reason to phone.
Have you ever seen a burglar in a suit taking pictures?
Yeah, and burglars who are bringing things in as opposed to taking them out, because they brought all their totes and their bags in. So yeah, let's just walk in front of the world's press and rob the place. It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. So anyway, inserting himself in the situation again. So if we watch that wee video, we're going to see they've already just come in the door and basically explained why they're there, and they're talking to Christopher Watts' lead defense attorney. The bald-headed guy who's called Merson is in the video.
Yeah, no, it didn't occur to me that the neighbors.
Okay, well, that works. We just want to make sure everybody was good to be here before we left, so. No problem. Appreciate it. Bye.
Sorry, I was just telling him we probably should have thought to give you guys a heads up.
Well, the DA's office probably should have done that too. So.
I don't think they knew we were coming, in all fairness to them. Oh, okay.
So the big advantage is
The house has been released a long time ago, I guess.
flexes,
So,
so it conforms to the shape of
So-
your head.
It was released Wednesday at midnight, I believe.
yeah. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
It
that
was
the DA
released as a crime scene, but yeah.
Yeah, the DA's office said it's been completely released, so they have no control who comes in and out at this point. So whoever has access is allowed to be here.
Okay.
So,
So
but that's why I was saying they should probably let us know.
But yeah, I assume you got a
Yeah, just so you know.
code for.
Right, guys, so you heard them saying there the police were quite obviously embarrassed. They were really embarrassed at having to be there. It was utterly embarrassing. I was embarrassed even watching them pull up in their squad car and go and knock the door very sheepishly. And once they were told they were the defence team, I mean, it was utterly embarrassing to watch. But it gave us a good insight now looking back. So we were able to see all the forensic totes and all the forensic testing equipment that's on the floor in the other video that we're just about to play with Selma. So let's hear what Selma has to say.
Yeah, sorry,
I'm like, I know that's a tote. It's about as far as I go.
Okay, we got it.
Okay.
If I did what you do, I'd probably make this mess too.
Yeah. Well, the message from Richard, if he does, he has done hundreds of crime scenes. So
I am glad you guys are.
Not to organize it anymore.
It looks an organized chaos for what's going on. So I just hope we didn't cause too much of an issue with your process.
Who did the trace recovery? Do you have any idea?
I'm sorry, what?
Who did the trace recovery here? Who took the samples?
I don't know. I wasn't here. I was out in the out in the subdivision talking to people, so I don't have a clue who was in here or when or how long. Sorry.
No. I was just wondering.
Yeah, no, all that stuff was done, and I wasn't even at work yet. So
Because we don't see any signs from where samples were taken.
okay,
Normally, we have a lot of those signs so that we know where we took anything, but we don't saw any. It looks pristine.
yeah,
So
I don't know. Yeah, this isn't what a normal crime scene would be really classified as. It looks by the looks of it, I guess.
yeah.
I mean, what is he even talking about? This isn't what a normal crime scene would be classified as, even looks as. What is he talking about? Like, why is he waffling on to this woman who is a professional?
Yeah, maybe he was used to different crime scenes.
Yeah, I mean, no one expected to come in and have blood spatter up the walls. We knew it wasn't going to look like that from what he described. And let's face it, everybody had been in on Monday, been in on Tuesday, been in on Wednesday, been in on Thursday. Like, this was now Friday.
Right.
So, I mean, he's just clearly making small talk with Selma. So,
They
yeah, I
didn't
think-
take samples of the carpet. They didn't take the mattresses out.
Right. They didn't remove the mattress, which again that actually takes us back to the Avery case. In the Avery case, you've got Teresa Halbach was supposedly splayed out on this bed, raped, and then butchered, and they didn't take his mattress either. And I mean, then you've got the Watts mattress that supposedly Shanann's been killed on, soiled herself, and that's not taken. I mean, really? It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So we'll move on to the next slide. So I don't know, Tanya, do you want to take the part of the truck? Are
Actually,
you happy enough?
Yes, of course. Do it.
Cool.
Do it.
I think it's easier. So the truck has been one of the biggest red flags for me, because I think the truck is crucial, because even if he changes his story to where the girls died, the truck is pivotal. And do you remember when we talked about the agenda at Saratoga was to put dead or past Shanann and the kids either linked to the bedrooms or to the garage, because they had to come out that way. Well, now we're going to talk about the agenda with the truck would be to link Shanann and the girls deceased, okay, because it doesn't matter if they sense or they can put an alive Shanann or the girls in the truck, because it will simply be explained away. But for him to have a conviction that's going to stand up, they need to put deceased children and deceased Shanann in that truck, and they also need to link the sheet to that truck, because they have definitively decided that the sheet that was found at Survey is what she travelled to Survey wrapped up in. So basically what we're saying is the truck is pivotal, and forensic wise, a vehicle is a very difficult thing to clean. There's so many crevices, so many nooks and crannies in a vehicle that to forensically clean one to a standard where you're not going to have any fibres or any debris or any kind of staining left is almost impossible. So let's talk about the truck. So it's a Ford F-250. And for a start, it's not grey, it's bronze. But as it says on the slide, I'm going to let that one go. There is a body-worn camera of the truck from Monday, so the very first day, and the shovels are clearly in the flatbed area. And if you see the upper right picture, the little red handle sticking out, about sort of a third of the way across the picture, that's the handle of the what's described as the red and black shovel. Watts is in the background of that picture on the top right, and you can see he's wearing the clothes that he was when he returned on Monday in the body-worn camera. So the shovels are clearly there. So for anybody saying that when he arrived home, I hear this all the time, the shovels were missing. No, they weren't. The shovels were in the flatbed. So the Sardis dog alerted that he picked up the scent of one of the three missing individuals, but all that means is that they were at the truck or in the truck at one time or another. They literally could have been standing right beside it saying, "Bye, Daddy," or "Hi, Daddy, coming home from work." It just means that they were near the vehicle at some point. So the CBI waited for the cadaver dog to do a second sweep, but the dogs failed to alert again on Tuesday the 14th, so the truck was not seized at that time. The truck was seized on Wednesday the 15th at 22:16 by Brad's Towing. It was taken to a secured lot, but it wasn't processed by the CBI until Tuesday, August 21st. So it did sit for a few days. Processing, to give you guys an idea, began at 10 a.m. and finished at 1:10. So 10 a.m. until 1:10. And that also, guys, was to process the Lexus. So they processed two vehicles in more time than they processed that entire home. Like an extra hour. So how did they get that home done so fast if that was the crime scene? But yet they took 3 hours and 10 minutes to do the two vehicles, which were both described as impeccably clean. So, you weren't digging through, a vehicle that's not well kept, that you're finding loads of hair and debris and, snacks and, loads of unidentifiable objects in the car, whether it be food debris or whatever, hair. These were quite impeccably kept vehicles, both of them. So, evidence seized from the truck. It's there, the little excerpt again for you on the left-hand side by Agent Yoakum, crime scene analyst Yoakum. And it's on the left-hand side. Again, if you want to freeze it and blow it up, you're welcome. The evidence seized, 13 items total, 2 shovels, a sickle, a gas can, work boots and a lighter, and also a roll of black bags, swabs of the steering wheel, trace lifts of the rear seat and console, and both front seat covers, because they were described as Hessian seat covers on both the seats. So again, roll of black bags, swabs of the steering wheel, trace lifts of the rear seats and the console area, and both front seat covers. Now, what trace lifts are, for anybody that's unaware, do you know, almost like those little, what I call a rolly brush that you get for your clothing when you have dog hairs or lint or fabric, and it's like a little sticky brush. They basically have forensic versions of those. They are sometimes on flat sticky pads that they remove the surface, then they stick it down, and then they put the sort of cover back on it. So it's like sticky cling film, which will lift any hairs, any trace residue. Very similar to what you see when they're doing a print lift, except it's for fibres and hairs and debris. So trace lifts from the rear seats and the console area. So if you want to flip on to the next one. So hold on to your hats. We're about to attempt to show you something else that's going to blow your mind, guys. So guess what there's no mention of? There's no mention of trace lifts from the floorboard in the rear. What is happening? Where is Shanann supposed to be? On the floorboard in the rear. So basically what Sandra Rusek said on Dr. Phil in February 2019, she was talking about Shanann Watt's location and how and why they knew she was in the back on the floor. Okay, so there was no DNA swabs or swabs of any kind from the rear floorboard area. And you have to remember, you are talking about, if you've listened to his confession, it's a decomposing body who has soiled themselves, and they're inside a simple cotton sheet. So they're not swabbing for biological materials. And then CW said in all his confessions that all of them, so regardless of whether you believe, 1, 2, 3, or however many stupid confessions he's made, it's always been alleged that she was in the back floor area of the Ford. So, and DA Rourke told the court and Judge Cockeye that he watched exactly that happening, which is nonsense. He didn't watch anything. So, now, you think it can't get any worse, but you obviously haven't met the Frederick Police Department and the CBI yet. So let's see. Let's have a listen.
He put Shannon's body inside the cab?
And that floorboard on the floor. That's where they found all the
So
hair.
this is like a king cab?
So, sorry, what did Sandra just say there? They put her on the floorboards in the cab in the back because that's where they found all the hair. we just looked at the list of everything that they took out of that truck, and there wasn't any hair. Now, I don't want anyone ridiculous in the comments section next week when I get an alert saying there's a comment to be saying, but the victim's family know more than we do. Listen, you are trying to tell me that they wouldn't have wanted to be able to put Shanann Watts in the back of that vehicle. Don't be ridiculous. If they had Shanann Watts' hair in the back of that vehicle or anywhere in that vehicle, they would have talked about it. They would have blown it up and sung it from the rooftops. Rourke would have been standing up in court screaming at everybody. So instead of talking about how he was booking a weekend in Aspen with his girlfriend, which wasn't even true because it was Shanann that booked that, he would have been standing up and saying, and Judge Copguy, we found a significant amount of Shanann Watts' hair in the back seat of the truck, sir.
Yeah.
And he didn't. It's never even mentioned. So what is Sandra Rusek talking about?
Yeah, Ellie just said in the chat, I strongly believe Rourke manipulated the Ruseks. Yes, I do believe so too.
I do too.
I
think they were told a lot of nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know when that really was solidified for me? When Sandra Rusek in that exact same interview is talking to Dr. Phil, and she says, we didn't even know. I believe it's her. It might have been Frankie, but they all agreed anyway. We didn't even know about the damage to Bella and the fact that she fought back until Rourke spat that out of his mouth to the judge in court. So if they didn't know, then Cindy and Ronnie didn't know. And by the look on his face and the way he started to weep and shake, I don't think Watts knew either.
Right.
It's just my opinion. It's the only time he shows a really extreme physical reaction to anything that he's hearing. He really starts, shaking. So it wouldn't be a great stretch of the imagination that he didn't know, because if they're saying they didn't know, and how could they look at Michael Rourke the same again after that, knowing that he just said that for dramatic effect? He should have said to them before they walked into that court, now listen, I'm going to say this, and I know you didn't know it until now, but this is what you need to know. And if he didn't already do that, he shouldn't have opened his mouth. So to me, that spoke volumes, Ali79, about how Michael Rourke behaved. It spoke volumes, and about his relationship. And again, one of these days we'll go into the call logs in regards to what way the Ruseks were treated in that week. because they tell a very different story. A very different story. You've got Mr. Rusek phoning up saying, "Why is my daughter's house taped off on the Wednesday night?" They don't know a thing about it. And then you've also got him saying, "Is the media right? The media are saying you found my daughter."
Right.
What?
And what so many people don't understand is they saying like, yeah, the DA, they're always for the family, and they, Sandy said she doesn't want the death penalty. Do you really think that Rook gives a shit about the Rusek family? No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
Because he just wanted them, put, like Ellie said, he manipulated them as well.
It's a sound bite. It's a sound bite. See him standing at the podium after sentencing, swaying and saying, "The Ruseks have been amazing. I've worked so closely with this family. I'm sorry that the call logs and what we've heard, and now what we've heard from them as they've let things slip as time's passed. No." And I realise in the last couple of weeks, even Sandra Rusek has said, "I can lift the phone to DA Rook at any time I want." And that's great. And I'm happy that they have that kind of relationship. But surely to God, if you really wanted all of this to go away, there's certain things that they could release that would just shut us all up. They would just stop us dead in our tracks, and it would make everything that they say is driving them crazy go away. There's things that he could release that would just shut us all up. And I just can't understand how the Ruseks wouldn't be asking for that. Say, look, just release something that shows, But to the people who are saying, "Oh, they know so much more," that's not how evidence works, guys. There's a chain of collection. It has to be logged. It has to be tested. You can't just make it disappear once it is logged. So for her to say, "Oh, all the hair," that's where they found all the hairs. That's not a single hair or a strand or a couple of strands. That's where they found all the hair. Who told her that? There's nothing in the evidence about hair in the backseat of that vehicle. And there's nothing in the lab reports about hair being tested except hair that was inside the trash bag. So it's just absolute nonsense. And as Dave's saying there, it wouldn't be the family's choice to serve the death penalty. I mean, yeah, Tanya talks about that all the time too. As much as we would love to think it was their choice and that we would have this big say, no. Sorry, guys, but no. It's not their choice. But it's the same way it's not Watts' choice, and we'll get to that later with the plea agreement.
Brooke pushed that family, the Ruseks, to say, the family did not want me to go for the death penalty. It's because of the family. No, it wasn't. It was simply because all the bullshit and the wrong investigation and all that crap they did in the investigation would have came to light.
Right.
That's why he didn't go for the death penalty.
Yeah, all the things that they didn't do or they did really poorly would have came out.
Exactly.
So yeah, no, 100%. Deanna, look at your screen now and see if it's changed, because that Dr. Phil screen was just a still screen. So Deanna's saying it might be frozen. Look now at your screen and see if
go to the next one anyway.
Yeah, we're moving on. So let's check and see and let us know if it's still frozen. You might want to go out and come back in again. So we're moving on to the site. So here's a list of items recovered from the well site, which they list as the Anadarko scene. That's what they call it in a lot of the documents, the Anadarko scene. So DY1 to DY7 is what the items are logged as. Black plastic bag, bed sheet, rake head, rake handle, suspected hair from East Tank, third piece of rake handle. Okay, so there's the two forms. The upper one is Colorado Bureau of Investigation transfer form. So that's it being transferred from them, or from, Frederick to them. So Yoakum's report is, I hope I'm saying his name right, but Yoakum's report is at the bottom and basically mirrors exactly what's above. And it just says the same things, the same item numbers. So that's the reports. Now, they were transferred to the care of the CBI for testing at their specialist lab on September the 13th. So, guys, they they have the items from the recovery day up until the 13th of September, so almost a month. They have them in their possession. Why was testing not happening? Why was there not a rush on this testing? What was going on? Surely there was nothing else happening in Frederick Police Department that was slowing this down. So for me, for that to have just that evidence to have sat there in their evidence suite for a month asks plenty of questions as well, especially when you've got the suspected hair from the tank allegedly in there. So that's huge. That's a huge piece of evidence if that's true. So why is it still sitting there? So let's move on. Now, this is really very interesting. So for the people in the house, I'm going to shout it for all of you way at the back so you hear me. Stuff did get tested. It did get tested, guys. Everyone keeps arguing and saying nothing got tested. They ran out of money. Funding stopped because he pled. If I hear funding stopped because he pled one more time, guys, it didn't. All right. Yes, there was tons of stuff that goes MIA, but not everything. So this is a list from, as you can see, the CBI Forensic Services Division. Now, so that stuff, remember, went off in September to be tested. It got transferred to CBI. This is 17 days later. We're getting it back. So this is the report back to say the results. So it's the 1st of October, and hopefully if Tanya and I get our fingers out and get alive, then we will put together a bit of an expose about what was going on in and around the first couple of days of October, because the 1st to the 4th of October is a crazy time in the discovery. There is so much going on, okay, so much. And I have a really deep feeling it's a very, very important time. So 1st of October, these results get back. What do they say? Okay, so results or opinions and interpretations. 8 latent prints, okay, suitable for comparison were observed or developed on item number 7. And item number 7 was one of the 2 black plastic bags found at survey. No latent prints suitable for comparison were observed or developed on items 8, 10, 13, or 36, I believe that says. So let's have a look. Item 8 is the other black plastic bag. Item 10 is the rake handle. Then you've got item 13, which is the partial rake handle, and item 38, which is the roll of bags that were taken from the work truck. So no prints, there was prints on them, but there was none suitable for comparison. Okay, so one bin bag, or trash bag as you call it, had 8 prints that were suitable. The other one doesn't have any. Then we've got item 11, not suitable for latent print analysis. And item 11, guys, is the rake handle. Okay, so basically the rake, I don't know if you guys have seen it, was so badly old and weather beaten and cracked and wooden and skanky that they couldn't lift prints off it. And if anybody follows the Todd Mullis case, you'll also know that they couldn't lift prints off the corn rake either. So allegedly, I'll say allegedly because I don't know if that's true or not, but they said that that's what was said in court, that they couldn't lift prints off it because of the nature of the material of the handle. So basically because it was wood and it was old and it was rotten. So to me, that rake was lying out at the survey for I don't know how long. I mean, it was lying around in the desert. It was broken in 3 pieces. Okay. It wasn't, Anadarko don't have their employees running around with really old equipment. Look at everything that they supply those folks with. It's not some old skanky rake. So I don't think that rake was his, and I don't think the rake is relevant to anything. I think it's just a red herring.
It was laying out there for 50 years.
Yeah. I mean, God, somebody discarded that in a bad temper years ago. So Items 7.1, 7.2, 8.1, 8.2, and 8.3 were removed from items 7 and 8 and retained in packet TRA1. Packet TRA1 was not suitable for latent print analysis and will be forwarded for analysis in other disciplines. So what that basically was the debris from the plastic bags. So don't forget, they were saying that they were floating around out there. So debris that was inside them, basically, and inside the paper evidence bags. They said that they couldn't test it. So it's being held for the future to be tested in other disciplines. So basically, biological testing could be tested to see, what makeup forensically it is and chemically. But at this point, it's not being tested. Now, this is the huge bit, guys. Item 6 and item 35 will be analysed at a future date. Item 6 is your blue nitrile glove, which was taken from the house. And you've got item 35, which is fingerprints from Shanann Watts. So they're saying they didn't test them and they're going to analyse them in the future. So I don't know what you guys make of that. But they didn't test the glove. They didn't test Shanann's fingerprints. Why? Like, why would you not test those? Why would you not run those against anything? So they're keeping them for the future. And then Tanya will make all clear about that when we're talking about the plea agreement. So if we flick on, Tanya. So let's see what the items the CBI refused and sent back to Frederick PD for storage. So guys, let's remind ourselves here. What are we dealing with? We're dealing with Chris Watts, who has said that his family, at least one member of them, was killed in the home. Potentially all three. Moved downstairs, through the garage, put into the back of his work truck, transported to Survey, and we all know what happened at Survey. Now, you guys know what famously his reason was that Shanann killed the kids. Okay, so confession number 1, I stopped Shanann, but it was too late. She'd already killed the children, so I killed her. Crime of passion. Now, his defense team wanted the neck swabs of the children, the what are called palmar swabs, which are swabs of the hands of the children and Shanann, and the neck swabs of Shanann, finger clippings of all three, and I believe facial swabs as well of the 2 children too. So basically, all the items that could act as exculpatory evidence, so evidence that could get Chris Watts off, or at least support that he only hurt Shanann, right, is what, for some reason, the CBI tell Amanda Purcell, who is the evidence sort of collection person at Frederick. She put together the discovery. Okay, she's the one that handles all the evidence coming in, puts it all together, right? Someone told her, hey, we don't need these items, we don't want them. It actually, the words were, we refuse them at this point. We don't want them. So the items that they send back are the swabs, the palmar prints, the cheek swabs, the trace lift from the truck. Guys, literally, they sent back
The most important evidence.
You guys are trying to put this family in the back of his truck, deceased, and you're refusing to test the trace lifts from the truck. What is going on? Your number 1 priority should be putting that sheet found at Survey in that vehicle. But you sent it back. It's crazy. So the report's on screen. There are supplemental reports by Amanda Purcell. She was contacted by, I believe it's Patricia Lopez, is the lab technician, and told, we're refusing these at this time. We don't want them. Take them back to Frederick for storage. What? What are you talking about? So why don't the CBI have any interest in excluding Shanann Watts from any culpability in the deaths of her children? Like, if anyone's sitting here thinking, why are they trying to say that CW, didn't do anything? No. This is about Shanann as well. That evidence would clear her.
Right.
But you're not testing that either. So not only would it convict him if you put her in the back of his truck, but why are you not trying to clear her and debunk his stupid confession of she killed the kids?
Exactly.
If that's what you think it is, then test the stuff. So that report is nicely buried quite deeply in the discovery as a nice little one-pager. So let's move on. So what is left that's never mentioned again in the discovery? What do we know for a fact from reports was taken into evidence but didn't come back from testing and is never mentioned again? So we've got the sheet from survey. So we've got pictures of it. It's listed on all the logs. It was taken in on the same day as the rake handle and the plastic bags. Not mentioned in that lab report on the 1st of October. The coroner's liner sheet. So you've got the sheet obviously at survey, and then if you guys didn't see our last live, the coroner's liner sheet, which is the one that's really badly stained, would be covered in biological matter from Shanann. Now, it's important in the sense that it be tested. Well, it's important in the sense that it's tested anyway to make sure that the biological matter on it solely belongs to Shanann and there's no other DNA on it. Because that could be DNA that has come off her body that would be of forensic value to an investigation. So it should have been tested. Shanann Watts' clothing, no mention of that. We've seen it in the drying locker. Why was that not tested? There could have been fibres or hair particles or anything from any third person on that. The children's clothing, why was that not tested? Truck samples that weren't returned. So where's all the trace lifts? Where's the seat covers? What happened then? So they're all gone. We still haven't had no mention of this hair in the truck. Now, also inside the black bags that they found floating around out at survey was supposedly hair, and it said that it would be kept for testing at a later date. So hold on a minute, you can link Shanann Watts' hair inside a black trash bag that's blown around in the wind, but you're not testing it. It's crazy.
Because it probably wasn't her hair.
Exactly. Then you've got suspected hair from the East Tank. So this has always been talked about and it's described in Discovery, but there's no photographs of it. And it wasn't one of the things that was removed from the original Discovery because Tanya had that. So it wasn't in there. And why not photograph that? Even if you were to, put it into evidence, photograph it, but redact the part of the photograph that you could really see anything that might be classed as too graphic, but just to show us that there was something there. No. And where's that been tested? Nowhere. Then you've got nail clippings from all 3 victims. Nail clippings, guys, are just huge in this case. You've got somebody being strangled and then 2 other people being smothered. Now, we pretty much know that little Cece didn't fight back, so there's probably likely going to be nothing under her fingernails, but you don't know for sure. So you've got to try. You've got to test these things. And Michael Burson, the forensic pathologist, wouldn't have taken the clippings if he didn't think that they were needed. So it's very standard to run those things, especially in this kind of situation, because if you've got an assailant strangling people or smothering people, fingernail clippings are going to be one of the things that they run. No mention of it in any of the testing. Then you've got the genetic reporting that was requested on Nico. No sign of that. Obviously, it's a huge contentious issue, but still, it's never been put back into the reports. And then, guys, you've also got the Thrive samples. So I was asking Tanya about this the other day. Do you know what sticks out in my mind? They asked Cindy Darasette, who's Shanann's thriver friend, okay? Cindy lives in Arizona, and yet Cindy is the one who very late in the game, and we're talking, I believe, off the top of my head, it was around the end of September, they contact Cindy and say, can you send us samples of Thrive? And they ask Cindy loads of questions about what Thrive is and how Thrive works, and the general kind of, do you take a sachet or do you do this, or is it just patches? And then Cindy agrees to send them samples that they would want, and then they send Cindy posts the samples in. They arrive just over, I believe, over a week later. Why are they not asking NA? She lives in town. She could have had samples round in a couple of hours.
Exactly.
And she's a thriver. Why did they not ask Amanda Fair? She's been incredibly cooperative with the investigation, and she's a thriver. So you've got all these thrivers who are already connected to the FPD. They've given statements, they've got, a rapport with someone in the FPD, but you're not asking them for samples. You're asking somebody who's out of state to post them to you. That's bizarre to me. That's very bizarre. And then what I want to know is, were the Thrive samples tested? And why were you wanting them? Like, why did you want to run them through? I don't really understand that. It was very bizarre. I thought it was bizarre in the first place. Were they preempting that his defense was going to say that Thrive made him go crazy? Was that maybe what they were trying to get ahead of, a narrative that they didn't really know was potentially going to be the case? But it was very late in the day that they asked for the Thrive samples, very late in the day. So if we go on to the next one, I believe this is you up now, Tanya.
Yeah. So we also want to talk a little bit about the weather, since there was a storm and rain and whatever. We've checked the historical weather for Colorado. So this is the Denver area. And as you can see, on Tuesday night around 6 p.m., it started raining heavily with a thunderstorm, clouds and everything. Humidity was at 78%, and it rained up until about 6 o'clock on that Wednesday morning. Shanann was recovered Wednesday night, I believe, around midnight. So it was reported from residents that, their trash cans flew all over the place, and, there were little floods and stuff like that. It's how heavy it rained. So rain and wind was so strong that the sheet allegedly blew away from the grave, where it landed in between bushes all curled up. But yet the sheet was not wet when they found it. So I would have expected at least the sheet to be wet in the middle, which you can see the officer is holding it up on the right side of the screen. So you don't see, it's basically bone dry. And if something is curled up like that sheet in between bushes and all that, or flown around in the wind when heavy rain, it should have been wet. Then also, Shanann's bum was covered by 3 inches of sand. Heavy rain and storms let the soaked, wet sheet blow away, but Shanann's backside was not even slightly visible. So she was only 3 inches under, and, the rain caused storm and trash cans and a wet sheet to blow away, but not the first or second layer of Shanann's shallow grave. So this makes absolutely no sense. So some people think that, and me included actually, I don't know about Danielle, but I think she thinks the same. Were they even brought to the site on Monday, or were they buried or was Shanann buried maybe a day later or on Tuesday? What does Troy McCoy, have to do with the crime scene looking for evidence and stuff? And were the kids actually put in the tanks also probably on Tuesday or Wednesday? So I just cannot imagine that heavy rain like this wouldn't disturb the first layer of sand where Shanann was buried.
I completely agree, Tanya. And the one thing as well, when I was reading the reports, one of the crime scene guys from the CBI, he writes a really detailed report, and he talks actually about the different areas, as in pretty much like we've done tonight in regards to breaking it down to Saratoga, the Anadarko site, the grave, and then the tanks, and he breaks it all down. And what he says about processing the grave, he says that the terrain in that area is dry and sandy, not like soil. So he describes it as like dry and sandy dirt. So I mean, you guys know if you've got quite light density sand, any type of rain or wind is just going to blow that away, and it's going to show up anything that's lying underneath it. And to me, then that would have, if she was there from Monday morning, really have increased the likelihood of any kind of animal activity around her.
Exactly.
So you've got Christopher Watts and other operators in the field taking precautions such as tucking their trousers in so that snakes and things don't bother them. And that's a real thing. I've read a lot of reports online of operators out in the field getting attacked by wildlife. So this isn't a kind of, oh no, there wouldn't have been any in that area. Very much so. So I definitely think there's just so many factors, and we discussed it before, so many things about it, about the grave site and about just different elements of the condition of Shanann, and then also, and I maybe I am a little bit biased, but I do think going right back to our very first live, there's so much evidence pointing to that the girls and Shanann were taken to a site elsewhere.
Yeah.
And I don't think they were transferred to survey on Monday. And I think that, it's not that I'm saying Christopher Watts is a smart dude. I'm not. I'm saying I don't think he is that stupid to have transported anyone in that truck. And then my opinion on that is further backed up by science and forensics, that they can't link the sheet and the bodies to that truck. And they can't even link the bodies to the house. And he's not that smart of a dude. In fact, even the smartest people would struggle to forensically wipe a scene like that.
Right. And also, if you guys watched our last live or the live before, when we were talking about the movements and the stairs.
Right.
Stairs, there's absolutely no evidence that, he wasn't sweaty. He was, driving along for 45 minutes with a dead body in the back seat, with his kids in the back seat, supposedly being alive, and he's saying in the Wisconsin interview, he's saying, oh, I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what to do, and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But yet he had the time to call coworkers, text coworkers, this is just baffles me.
His phone usage does not make sense. His phone usage tells the story of someone who was just standing around for an hour.
Exactly.
And it certainly doesn't tell the story that somebody was under pressure.
And he definitely did not, climb any stairs, according to his movements.
Yeah, and I saw people in chat during the week when I was in there kind of chatting to people in the comments section and going back to people with questions. And there was a few people sort of saying, oh, the phone could have been lying in the truck. Tanya made that so clear, guys. You've got one app that shows motion, which continuously showed motion on his personal cell phone. The other one shows steps, so going up altitude, a change or a drop or a rise in altitude of the phone. That's the one that monitors steps. So yes, if the one that showed movement was still and there was no steps, you would be on the money. But the movement one was working. it was registering movement. And then we know the steps one was working because when he got home, and as we saw on the body-worn camera of Coonrod, he starts going up the stairs. And immediately on the record, he starts going up the stairs.
Yeah, immediately it registers flight
Yeah.
time.
So we
Yeah.
have that marker there, that just like the guys with the Blue Star forensic, spray, they do a test to see if it's working. So they test something they know should show up, and then they test something that shouldn't. That is our simulation right there. You see him on the body cam going up the stairs. You know what time that's at. And when we look at his record, what does it show? He's going up the stairs.
Exactly.
So there's the marker. That as somebody who believes in science, that's your control test right there. You see him going up the stairs. Like, had we not had body-worn footage, we wouldn't be able to tell. Well, did he start going up the stairs when he got home at 2:00? I don't know. Was it 2? Was it 2:30? Did he go up the stairs?
It tells you down to the second.
We've got it right there. So that on its own would have meant nothing, but combined with the movement recorded by the app, the phone kept moving, which means Watts kept moving. He just wasn't going up or downstairs. And I'm not being funny, but he ain't Superman. He didn't fly those kids up to the top of the wells.
No.
So either someone else took them up there on Monday morning, or they weren't there on Monday morning. And I know which of the two makes more sense to me.
Right. So yeah, you can check that out, guys, on timeanddate.com. You can put the date, the time, and it shows up, or the area or county or whatever, and it shows you exactly all the historical weather forecasts and all that stuff. So just check that site out. It's really good. Okay, what I also wanted to talk about is the plea agreement, because there are so much misinformation out there. Like, he was sealing the autopsy reports, and he was sealing, what did he seal? Oh, he sealed so much, I can't even remember.
Oh my goodness. At this point, I don't know. Santa Claus and Yoda all rolled into one. He seems to have more power
and whatever. So no, sealing anything was not part of his plea agreement. And I just go through really quick, because you can pause all this and read it for yourselves as well. I'm not going through every little detail. It just shows that he waived his rights to certain things, and that he pleads guilty on his own will.
Tanya, can I just stop you there for 1 second? I'm just going to address Jane in chat. Jane, listen, it's not, you can keep shouting about NK. Tonight we're not covering NK. It's not that we don't believe that NK is involved, okay? So I don't know if you're new to the channel. We've done videos in the past about NK. If you go back and watch our first live, it's all about NK, okay? And the trucks and the forgotten witnesses. I don't know why you're shouting about the police protecting NK. Don't you understand? No, we understand a lot. But getting irate about it in our chat and distracting people from what Tanya and I are trying to show you today isn't going to help anybody. There's plenty of time to talk about NK, and she's got plenty of coverage, but we're not going to dedicate every waking hour of every live to NK.
No.
Okay, so, I mean, I get the whole PsyOps thing. I get the whole American Horror Story links thing. I get the whole it wasn't real, it was a false flag thing. I've looked into it. There's things that definitely make me go, oh my god, that's crazy. But that's not what we're talking about tonight. So, calm it down. It's not that anyone here is ignoring NK's role potentially in this. We're not. That's just not what we're talking about tonight. Okay, Jane? Sorry, Tanya.
Yeah, so like I said, you can, pause this video or rewatch it and read it all for yourselves. It's basically just the counts he is charged with and all that. And I just exerted the stuff what I think it's important. So as you can see, when you pause that video and look for yourself, there's no agreement of any sealing records or anything. He also does not have the authority to do so. This is either law enforcement or a judge. And yeah, to put this to bed once and for all, Christopher Watts is not able to seal anything because he has no say in nothing, right? So what stood out is the parties further stipulate that the defendant will pay all the funeral costs, which stood out to me a little bit because this was already covered by donations. And I gotta dig into that a little deeper because I don't know, or I couldn't find anything where it says, okay, he is, he doesn't have to pay for the funeral costs because basically the public paid for it through donations. And then finally, the parties stipulate that the people may withdraw from this agreement if the defendant commits a new felony offense while awaiting sentencing. So if he would have, let's say, in county jail when he was in there, if he would have killed somebody else before he was sentenced for the crime I also must say supposedly committed, because it's not really clear, they would have withdrawn from this agreement. So there's no possibility. And they could have said, no, now we're going to go for the death penalty. But he didn't do anything, so it's all good. So then another thing that stood out, you can see below, the defendant understands that evidence being held by law enforcement agencies in this case could contain DNA. The parties stipulate that the defendant's identification is a disputed issue. That's no, of course it's not. They know he's Christopher Watts. Law enforcement holds evidence that contains known DNA is also no. And what does this tell us? This tells us that they did not or do not hold any DNA, no fingerprints, no DNA, no nothing, no fibers that is known to belong to a person known to law enforcement. So it could have been that it's somebody's DNA, but it's not in the database. So contains known DNA? No. Evidence that has not been tested could be subjected to a DNA test? Yes. But when you remember, they refused testing the samples, they refused testing the fingernail clippings, they refused all that. And another thing is, this case includes DNA evidence that should be preserved. No. So, law enforcement holds evidence
That's
that
just
could be
crazy. That
Law-
they're not going to hold on to that DNA for any length of time.
Law enforcement holds evidence that could be tested in the future, for example, in case new information comes up, but it is not worth keeping. So why? And we talked about this in the last live when I explained to you the codes, and some of the evidence locked was labeled with code E, which means basically, what was it called? Eliminate.
Oh,
So not
yes.
worth keeping. Then there were code P, which would mean preserve. So all these fingernail clippings and all that stuff, they can just destroy, get rid of it, because it's not worth keeping. So if there is ever new evidence and this stuff is destroyed, I think he has no chance to prove his innocence or partly innocent or whatever. So then the next thing is the evidence log provided is in the discovery. So everything we see in the discovery is the evidence they have. There's no other evidence. To put all that to bed as well, there is no other evidence. There's no additional footage. There's no other video the family had seen. There's no such thing. So the defendant agrees, and that's really stupid. And the court orders that law enforcement may discard, destroy, or return all items of evidence set forth on the attached log and that evidence will be released according to law enforcement agencies' procedures, and the defendant waives any right to further notification before the evidence is released. A photo ID is required for released evidence. The representative of the defendant who may collect the property, which they mean by the property is Chris Watts' personal property, like his wallet and stuff, is Ronnie Watts. So he basically signed away that they can, if they want to, destroy, discard, or return all evidence. So some people say, yeah, Ronnie Watts got his wallet, but why didn't he get his phone and stuff? It's normal procedure. I know that for a fact because I had a murder in my family too. And I was asking for my family members' phones specifically. And I normally don't do that, but it just pisses me off that people, misinform so many other people. And that's why I'm going to make this public now. So this is the email I received from the detective investigating a murder in my family. And that should explain why Ronnie did not get Chris's phone back. I was asking for the cell phones for my family members to be returned to me. And this was the detective's answer. Hi, Tanya. It was nice to hear from you, blah, blah, blah. Regarding the property, I have not had a chance to see what all is still in evidence at our building. Unfortunately, in most homicide cases, we have to keep the property that was collected as evidence forever. The most obvious reason for that is in case there are ever appeals to be made in court, or if other evidence becomes known that may lead to a new trial, I suppose. If something was taken and is not necessarily evidence, but just taken for safekeeping, such as Chris Watts' wallet, for example, we at times give that to family. However, if you had something specific that you were thinking we had and the family wanted, I can check on it. I cannot make any promises that something would be able to be turned over to you or your family, but I did speak with my lieutenant and he said we could at least check on it. So anyways, in the meantime, I will try to get a list of what was taken and see if there would be anything to be released. I'm sorry I don't have it for you already, but we have been extremely busy this year and it just never stops around here. So what he is saying, and I asked him specifically for the phones, and what he said to me is they have to keep it forever. Even though this case regarding my family is closed, still, if some new evidence comes up or a person sitting in jail says, oh, I didn't do this, there were accomplices or can prove that he didn't do this, they need the evidence. So this was in 2015. And I'm still in contact with the police department over there, and they still have to keep it. So what I was also investigating was I also spoke to the lieutenant, and he said they have to keep it for at least 50 years or forever. So 50 years is the time where in the United States, most of the cases and all the documents are being made public anyway, but they have to keep it for forever. Let's say, for example, if a murderer is, let's say, 18 years old, and he will still live in 50 years, hopefully, or not hopefully, whatever. And, he will be only 68 or 67 years old. So if he's going to be exonerated by then, they would still need to provide the evidence at a trial. So in those cases, they have to keep it until the murderer is basically dead. So this is the one and only reason why they did not give Chris Watts' phone to his dad, and not because the case is still open or there's new evidence or they looking still for accomplices. No, the case is closed in the eyes of the law enforcement and the DA, but they have to keep such evidence forever. yeah, this is just what I wanted to tell you guys.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that with everybody, because I know it's really personal to your family. So it's really important that
Yeah, I was
people
just
understand the misinformation that's out there.
yeah, normally I wouldn't do that, but I always say no, it's not the case, it's just people think, it's still ongoing. That's because that's why they don't give the evidence out. No, they don't, and I struggle to put that up on YouTube or anywhere public, but I just want to put this to bed once and for all, because it's just misinformation and I don't like it.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. Tanya, just to direct you chat, I just want to say to chat here, like, I timed somebody out there, I think you all know who it is, because he or she was just getting far too emotional and really shouting over everybody else who has constructive things to say. Another user is saying, I shouldn't have timed them out. I'm not silencing anybody's speech. They're on a timeout so that they can think about what they're writing, as opposed to typing at 1,000,000 miles an hour and not listening to anything that's being said.
Right.
Okay, so no one is being silenced. They're just on the naughty step, okay, for 5 minutes. They need to calm down, take a breath, and actually listen. So open their ears and open their minds and listen, and stop shouting in the chat at other people who are trying to listen to what Tanya and I are saying, and who are trying to talk to each other in a grown-up adult way. Okay,
Yeah.
shouting in caps about, friggin', I don't know, whatever it was, is not happening on this channel.
No.
Okay, YouTube is full of drama. If you're looking for drama, go somewhere else. It's not happening here. All right.
Yeah.
Said it last week. I'm not having it in chat. It's just not happening, and it's not about anybody not having another opinion. I think
It's nothing personal either.
no,
But
loads of
we're all
people have different
adults,
opinions. My goodness, all week long, I've had people leaving completely crazy comments in our comments section on all our different videos, and they're more than welcome to do that. But once anything offensive happens, it's removed, because this is not a drama channel. Don't have time for it. Too old for it. No, thank you. So let's move on.
Yeah. Yeah, and I also wanted to say real quick, it's also hard for me to talk about this, because
Right.
I went through all this as well. And if people tell me, you don't know what you're saying, and, don't attack the Ruseks or don't attack the Watts family, I'm not attacking anyone, but I know what I'm talking about, because I went through all this twice.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So if somebody comes up to me and says, you have no clue what you're talking about, oh, yes, I do. Not to sound arrogant or anything like that, but yeah.
You have firsthand experience of it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay,
Right.
let's move on. The vomit. Danielle, please, I gotta get a glass of water.
Yeah. Okay, guys, so we're going to wrap up shortly, but our last little golden nugget of information tonight comes from Tanya. But Tanya has had a very, very, very stressful week. So I went off and did a little bit of investigation into the subject matter. So we have got, when we're talking about the evidence and what was listed and what wasn't listed, one of the things that everyone circles back to is why there was this picture of this pink substance,
Vomit
out at survey. And we have heard all sorts of discussion about vomit. So if you are easily offended by vomit or the discussion of vomit, I would suggest you exit now, because you're not going to miss anything else. That's all we're finishing up with. But if you don't like talking about vomit, this is your time to leave. So good night. So we'll move on from this slide, Tanya. So that's the picture that was in Discovery that's on your screen now. Now, let's talk about vomit.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I just get a glass of water real quick.
Yeah, no problem. So let's talk about vomit at survey. So, chunder, throw up, puke, sick. All words that we recognize for when a person or animal vomits. Now, a lot of people have been obsessed with the supposed vomit area featured in a picture that was included in the original Discovery. let's remind ourselves of the various Facebook and YouTube theories out there. Okay, so we've got that Chris Watts puked after killing everyone / disposing of their bodies. We've got that Chris Watts drank strawberry Thrive for breakfast every day because that was his favourite. Then we've got Jim, Troy McCoy, E.T., Jesus Christ himself. The list is endless of folk that have been touted as the mystery bringer of the Chunder Thunder. So we've also got NK because she did happen to mention that she felt unwell to Agent Kevin Kobach in one of her interviews. So basically what you're seeing in the picture is the pink object on the ground, and then in the top left hand, I don't know if you guys can see it too clearly, but if you blow it up you can see it super clearly. In the top left hand area of the photograph you can see a lot of pink residue on the ground. Do you see it? It's sort of all around that top left hand quarter of that image. You can see it on the rocks and on the gravel. And then in the bottom picture, that's just to give you an idea roughly on survey where that photo was taken, so that you can have an idea. All right, Tanya, we'll move on to the next one. So, are you ready to have another aha moment? Okay, so this is hopefully going to make you go, oh yeah, I get it now. So, let's move on. Let us introduce you to a product called FOSS-Check. Now, in the last 7 days, I have become a FOSS-Check expert. So something I never thought I would need to know about. And I don't think I will ever need to have my knowledge of FOSS-Check in life. But let's tell you a bit about FOSS-Check. So FOSS-Check is a brand of long-term fire retardants, Class A foams and gels. It's manufactured as a powder or concentrated liquid, and then it's used after it is mixed up, diluted with water. So you got to get me right on these chemical analysis here. Phosphate and sulfate are combined to act as fire retardants, and they prevent combustion of certain materials. They also act like a fertilizer. So once the fire danger has passed, the FOSS-Check dissolves into the ground. So guar gum and clay are thickening agents that are added to stop the FOSS-Check dispersing once it's applied to an area, so it doesn't just run off like water. So they thicken it up almost like a jelly. And then the FOSS-Check is used in areas prone to wildfires to protect homes, protect property, and other areas from flames. We got the next slide, Tan? Oh yeah, forgot to tell you guys, it's bright hot pink. So if you look at the picture on the left of the firefighter who's doing the thankless task of removing it from an air dump that's been over a home, you'll see him hosing it off with water. And then on the right, you've got a tanker which is filling up storage drums of FOSS-Check. And what I want you to draw your attention to is look at the ground on the left-hand lower part of the picture. Does that look familiar to you? Because that is overspill of FOSS-Check, and it appears as a very sort of light in some areas, pink mist almost across the ground. Does it remind anybody of the photograph that we saw of a certain little jellified pool of vomit? So it's not vomit, guys. It's not vomit. So I don't know about anybody else, but I'm relieved that it's not NK or Troy or ET's vomit out at survey. Okay, so it's not vomit. So we'll move on to the next one. So FOSS-Check is sprayed through hoses by the fire department. It protects the likes of telegraph poles, anything that's basically at risk of going up in flames. And you can see on the right there, FOSS-Check comes in various colors. It actually comes in white/clear. It comes in bright hot pink, and it comes in one that changes from a sort of reddish color when it's applied and actually fades. I can't remember, it's called like a camo. It fades into a natural earthy tone. So it's not quite as offensive. But the reason why they use it in pink is so the pilots that are dropping it onto the wildfires can see where they've already dosed. So we're going to see that in a wee second. So if we move on to the next one.
Yeah.
So here we go, guys. This is a really interesting, really short video. So let's go.
That pink goo is saving this neighborhood. Huge tanker planes dropping the pink fire retardant Phosgene to slow the spread of the California wildfires. Here's Jim Murray.
The hotspots have been unrelenting, but so have these air crews using spotters and huge tankers dropping Phosgene, keeping these homes from going up in flames.
Social media videos catch the drama. Watch how low the planes fly in. Here's what it looks like from inside a house. This home is so close to a drop, it's like he's in the middle of a pink rainstorm. The whole neighborhood is pink. Pink homes, pink trees, pink mailboxes, pink vehicles.
You can see the pink on the fence line up here.
Kim Cousins' home was right under a drop.
I look up and I see a 747 come up over the top of my house and just drop pink Pepto-Bismol, right? And it was just like pink goo.
But homeowners are expressing gratitude. They'd rather have their houses turn pink than go up in flames.
You see all of this pink. This is a good thing.
This is an awesome thing.
A huge wildfire has been raging for days around Lake Elsinore, 70 miles outside LA. Authorities say it was an act of arson, deliberately started by this man, Forrest Clark, who has reportedly had a running feud with his neighbors for years. Clark allegedly sent a text to a fire chief a week ago saying the place is going to burn.
It's a lie.
He's now been charged with arson, held on $1 million bail.
I can handle $1 million right now, easily.
And in northern,
Yeah, he doesn't look crazy much.
footage shows the terrible scale of destruction in the city of Redding.
Thanks to Inside Edition, by the way.
Yeah, I love their little videos. Can I just say, guys, I have spent 30 odd years on this planet of ours, and I never knew that this was a thing. I knew that firefighters in, the helicopters and the jets drop this stuff, but I did not know that it was hot pink. How did I survive so long? I feel like I've had an awakening this week, Tanya, and it was all down to Tanya. Tanya dropped the mic and exited the building. So I literally just went off and discovered what Phosgene was after she told me and did a bit of research into it, and it's crazy stuff. So, and how we're going to tie this in for anybody that still might doubt her genius, we're going to show you how it ties in to Survey 390. So, on the left of the screen, you're going to see a little bit from a website who is a distributor of Phosgene. And one of the things they say is, ding, 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 they use it in the oil and gas industry. So it says they're Perimeter Solutions, that's the company who distribute Phosgene in the United States, offers a variety of solutions to the oil and gas industry, from exploration sites to transportation and refineries. Many of our Class B firefighting foam concentrates have certificates in both freshwater and seawater brackish applications for field or offshore use. We offer this is a my fully ready, fluorine-free AFFFF and ARAFFF Class B firefighting foam and hardware systems that protect flammable and combustible liquid storage tanks. Combustible liquid storage tanks, guys. Loading and unloading stations, jetties, processing units, loading docks and pipeline. Perimeter Solutions has experience in developing fire safety solutions for oil and gas companies around the globe. So in the middle, you see a little clip. It's not a video, but it was screen grabbed for the reason that it says on it, cities, the use in cities, municipal fire departments use Phosgene fire retardants to prevent the ignition and or spread of fires. So what you're going to see then on the right, guys, you see the Wiggins Rural Fire Department were the guys who had the very unpleasant and very, very heart-wrenching task of recovering the girls. So Wiggins were called they were tasked to attend the scene. they got called about 9 o'clock on Thursday morning, and they were tasked with basically being a backup, not actually going into the tanks, because I know there's those very famous pictures of the firefighters right up at the doors of the tanks, but they didn't actually go in. So that was the troopers. So they readied the troopers to go in their hazmat suits and then decontaminated them when they came out. That was their role. And also, what's really important was it says in the little excerpt of the discovery report from one of the troopers is actually there. So I'll just read what it says. So they were tasked with attending the scene on Survey 319 in the morning of Thursday the 16th of August due to the potential risk of flash fire or explosion of the tanks when recovering the 2 children. State troopers who were tasked with recovering the children stated in their report, "We had Wigan's Fire Department charge a hose line and move closer to the manway entrance." So in other words, what they did was as the 2 troopers got ready to head into the big square manway hole, the access point on the side of each one of the wells, basically they got ready with a hose charged to fire onto anything that might happen. And as you well know, anybody that's kind of got fire extinguishers or anything like that around their homes or businesses, you can't use water on an oil fire or a flash oil fire. So they would have had something similar to a foam and potentially Phos-Chek. Now, that also doesn't necessarily mean that Phos-Chek has only ever been used on that one occasion. This could be Phos-Chek that's been around and has been lying around for a while. Doesn't necessarily mean that it was from what happened on that day. Phos-Chek may have been used on this site previously, and that's just the residue of it that's lying around.
Yeah, but that is
unlikely, but definitely
unlikely, because when you look at the drone footage, it wasn't there.
Yeah, exactly. There are people that have said online that they have a nightmare getting it off their homes up to like a month later, so it is important to kind of state that. But Phos-Chek also do say it's very much water soluble, and as you saw, the fire oh my goodness, I can't even speak today. The fireman, he was blasting it with just a regular hose from the person's property. So it does wash off, and it is environmentally friendly, and it does, as I say, convert into a fertilizer. So there's a bit of a mixed information online. Some people don't like it in regards to being environmentally friendly, but other people do agree that it is. So yeah, what about that, guys? It wasn't vomit after all. It was hot pink Phos-Chek. So the little pink pile of vomit was actually like a little pink jellyfish made out of Phos-Chek. Crazy, eh? Crazy. And there's everybody going off on one saying that NK bulked it up, or because she's pregnant, or CK or C-Dub bulked it up because he had his strawberry thrive that day. No. It's Phos-Chek. Sorry. Sauce to blow your bubbles. Tanya blew that one out of the water. So up on, as you say, if you really zoom in, and especially if you look at it on a light, bright monitor, you can really see the Phos-Chek residue on the top half. Don't look just at that little pink blob. See above it, and like right above it in the whole left-hand side of the picture, you can see it all over the ground. Lena is saying, I'm not sure I believe that. Do we have any proof? Yeah, the Wigan's Fire Department do use Phos-Chek. I did find that online. However, it wasn't from a source in 2018, so I didn't include it. But the amount of municipal fire departments that use it, especially in rural areas, and Wigan's Fire Department is actually called Wigan's Rural Fire Department. So it is in a rural area that would be quite affected by the like of woodland fires. And if you go on to their Facebook page, they actually have quite an issue with flash fires happening out in the desert areas where people might be working and they spark fires. So they're almost like sort of grass fires. So that's exactly what Phos-Chek is used for. So it's perfect in those sort of situations. And as we know, Colorado is a oil and gas state, and that is exactly what Phos-Chek is made for.
Right.
So guys...
Yeah.
I don't know what else to do. I don't know what else to tell you about Phos-Chek. I'm Phos-Checked out.
So we learned a
So-
lot about FOSCHECK today.
Yeah. If I ever decide to be a firefighter, I can use some FOSCHECK.
Yeah, right.
Listen,
Okay.
crazy, crazy.
So I hope we could again clear something up and show you how botched the evidence was from the DA. And yeah, we need to, I mean, we're not running out of content or anything, but we wanted to ask you guys what you want to hear or what we should go into more detail for the next week's live stream. So if you have any suggestions, don't hesitate to tell us.
Yeah, leave us a little comment once the live's over if you want to, and let us know what about the discovery pickles your brain. What unanswered questions do you have?
Right.
So and if you write, why did NK ping? I don't know. I'm telling you that now. I can't answer that one for you. So
What? Why
did NK ping in Frederick? I don't know. I have a good
Because
idea,
she was
but I don't
around?
know. She was around, yeah. Someone the other day asked a really random question and said that it was proven that it wasn't NK's phone that pinged. And I thought, what? I haven't heard that one before. That's
Okay.
new to me. That's a
Never
new one
heard
for
that.
me.
Yeah, if you look at NK, you know, why, if you go through the whole timeline, you know, every morning she called him or he
Right.
called her. Not this morning, you know. Every morning she took the other way around to work. Not this morning. So yeah, it makes me kind of suspicious.
Exactly. Even one of those things without the other would be suspicious, never mind both.
Right, exactly. So yeah. Yeah, like I said, I hope this was fun again. And yeah, just let us know, you know, if we can go into detail on some topic you guys want to hear. We are working at the moment on something. It's you know, basically a part 2 of the autopsy, but Danielle was asking around because we wanted to actually put somebody up on the stream, somebody who works in that field, right, Danielle?
Yeah, I mean, I've done tons of research into the subject matter of this particular area of the autopsy, but I would really love, like, I know we've got so many members in the Facebook page and now coming to the channel as well, and you guys are like a fountain of knowledge, and I'm not talking about just with Watts, I'm talking about in your lives. You're such a varied, you know, section of people that come onto the chat that I know that there's definitely people out there that could help me with the information I need. And I really, as I can take these case studies all day long online, but to actually talk to somebody who's had hands-on experience of the subject matter, I would love. And we had so many people when we posted a kind of little feeder or feeler out on the Facebook page, and we'd loads of people comment, but I sent out the questions to people and I haven't really heard too much back. But just basically anybody that has really advanced kind of OBGYN or midwifery, or anybody who has advanced gynae, or anybody basically who is in that field of work or was and is retired. Yeah, that's basically what I'm looking for. Somebody who has hands-on experience that could talk to me and answer some questions that I have. It's not a realm that I have any experience in other than having my own child, but I don't have any experience in that field of the medicine, and I would really like to talk to somebody and kind of pick their brain a little bit, and I just kind of want to ask people questions in regards to, you know, is my theory on the right track? Because everything that I've researched online certainly says that it is, but I just love to ask someone who has that real physical experience of dealing with pregnant women and from a medical point of view. So anybody that has any kind of experience, if you either want to go onto the Facebook page if you're a member, and there's a post from this week, you'll find it there.
Somebody asked what the name is. It's all listed in the About Me section on the YouTube channel. So if you go to the channel information, it's all listed there.
Sorry, I can't say that. Circe, is it? The tiger kidnapping theory? No, if you're asking me, is it about that? No, it's not at all. That's something totally separate. I was talking with someone about earlier. But that is something I'm definitely going to do either a video or a live on soon, because where I'm from, we actually spawned the tiger kidnapping thing. It was the first ever real occurrence of it here. And it was to do with a bank robbery, very big bank heist in our country. So I'm sure if Sarah Jane's still here, she'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Very, very famous bank heist, and basically a tiger kidnapping. It was one of the first times that was ever used here, and then it really took off, and tiger kidnappings were happening all the time. So it was a huge thing, and to me, there's real parts of this case scream tiger kidnapping to me, like real elements of it that would tie in back with our first video. Like, you know, you're talking extortion, honey trapping, and with a tiger kidnapping built into the middle of it. And it happens more than you think. And it doesn't need a lot of people to pull it off. In fact, the fewer people, the better. So if you go back and watch our first video, if you're new in chat, I see a couple of people saying they're new, go and watch the witnesses they forgot, and you'll have a good idea about Tanya and I's feelings on the case and what our, you know, inverted commas, theory is. But it's all evidence-based. Every single part of it is based from the discovery and based from witness statements that no one ever talks about.
Right.
So, and just a bit of random information, actually. Right back at the start of tonight's live, we talked about Comcast and Infinity. And for anybody who's been with us from the start, like Canadian Mama, you guys will all know that one of our witnesses who saw the white truck and reported it as suspicious on the Sunday, I'll not tell you which one because there was two, but one of the witnesses actually was a 21-year veteran of Comcast / Infinity at the time of the murders and left Comcast in 2019. So isn't that weird? This person worked for Comcast for 21 years and then left the year after the murders. And he or she was a witness to the white truck on the Sunday. So I just thought that was a bit of a weird connection.
Yeah.
But yeah, any of you guys that watch that video are going to know what I'm talking about.
Dave Holland is saying a bit of background on the Charlotte House connection could be interesting. Yeah.
You just talked about that earlier.
I just said that this afternoon. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but this is very time consuming because when we start digging, like we dig really deep and, you check the clock and it says 12 and then you check the clock again and it's midnight.
Right.
So
yeah,
you just get lost when you search the internet and stuff. So yeah.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. You go down your little rabbit holes. Yeah. I mean, I was down the fast check rabbit hole at 4 o'clock in the morning the other day. So, I swear, if anybody ever finds my phone and, if anything ever happens to me and they look at what I search and what I screenshot, I don't know what they're going to think. It's just crazy. I saw someone in chat there. Hold on 1 second. Was it Ali? Ali saying, I've never heard about tiger kidnapping before. Yeah, right. Ali, even Wikipedia actually has a really good article and it references my hometown because that's where tiger kidnapping was kind of born from. So go on and look it up on Wiki, and then there's some really good, well, I don't want to say good, but really interesting examples. Definitely go have a look at that. And then also someone there was saying, where is it? Lena's saying the Lindstrom's interview is worth looking at too. Lena, from what point of view do you think? Because I kind of agree with you, but I just wanted to ask in case we're on the same page, because I agree. I think their interview is really interesting too. And I think their response to the news that Chris was, supposedly confessed, even though the media put out the fake news about it afterwards, I think that's very interesting as well. We've got Lily saying his phone call log. Lily, we're definitely going to look, we were just talking about this earlier tonight, we're going to look at the phone logs in regards to the calls that were coming in and out of Frederick, really, as well, because I think they're interesting. They're interesting in regards to the dynamic with the
You mean
family
the
and
phone logs or the router logs?
no, the phone logs. The ones coming in and out of the police station. Who was calling in what and when, and who was asking what and when, and who was inserting themselves into things and they shouldn't have been, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's definitely one to look at. The fire stick. Oh my goodness, the fire stick.
And also the lazy dog.
The lazy dog one.
The lazy
for me,
dog with no cameras.
yeah, that blows my mind. The lazy dog. Now, I have never been in a lazy dog, okay? From what I understand online, it's a bit of a franchised restaurant, and it reminds me kind of like a Chili's or that type of place. And it's like almost like a pub, but with like a bit of a more focus on food. And from the photos I saw, like they're really big. Like these are big cedar restaurants. And for them to serve alcohol and not have cameras is what is going on? Because I mean, here you can't serve alcohol without having recording cameras. It's part of your license. You have to have them if you're going to serve alcohol, because obviously things can happen, especially when you're serving alcohol to the public. So there's just no way you would be allowed to operate. I just can't believe they had cameras that don't record. I mean, that seems a little unbelievable to me. And then also the proximity of, I know it's probably getting into it a bit too much for tonight, but the proximity of one of the locations of the lazy dogs to the site, and where it was in regards to survey, that always blows my mind a wee bit too. So there's certain things about lazy dog and what happened, and things that CW always says. I mean, he goes on and on about how if I just hadn't went on the Saturday night, and I still think this ties into he was told about whatever the plan was at that meet.
Yeah.
So, and I know I'm not the only person on YouTube saying this, so I'm not saying it to be sort of divisive. But I really think the evidence points at that. I mean, the searches that were done on Ronnie and on the Saratoga address just before, going to meet him, it's just strange, very strange. And the phone call logs between NK and Jim around that time. And, it's off the phone to one, on the phone to the other, off the phone to one, on the phone to the other. You could imagine it was like, right, okay, he said this, right, okay, phone him back and ask him that.
And
right,
also
okay,
what baffles me is that Troy McCoy says, oh, I don't know her. Like, I've never seen her, or I don't know her.
Right, Troy pretended that he didn't know her, and then she never mentions Troy, and they're the only two people that don't mention each other, but everyone else mentions everybody, but those two don't mention each other. Exactly. But they're the only two people that talk about the fire stick.
Yeah. So Richback's asking, will you guys ever focus on Troy McCoy? Yep.
Yes.
Definitely.
100%.
And yes, there is, she's also asking, I'm wondering how the water guy extracted the water from the tanks. Did he go through the top hatch? Or was there a different opening for him to extract the water? There's actually, hold on, maybe I can share my screen with you guys and I show you. There's actually, I think I have it here somewhere. There is actually, do we have the picture of, where are the pictures of the well? I can show you. There is to the side, there's like a a storage basin or something. And this is where he...
It's almost like a pool, like a round pool. It looks like a little pool.
I'm just looking for that.
It might be on the vomit pics. It might have caught the edge of it in that image.
Yeah, I'm looking. No.
Oh, it doesn't catch it. It's just to the left of that image, isn't it?
It's just to the left.
Yeah, the water kind of siphons itself out.
Right, exactly. Maybe I find a different picture I can share.
Because the water's a different density, it comes out through a different pipe. It almost like separates itself and then overflows out. And then basically he comes along and sucks out what's in that little pool.
Yeah.
So that's an incredibly crude and awful way of describing it. But that's in essence what happens. But yeah, I think the water truck guy is just one of those unfortunate things that just happened to turn up.
Yeah, but why not saying, yes, I've been there, and I've been looking for evidence, and, why not saying this?
Yeah, although I don't think there was anything sinister about the water truck guy. That's kind of what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
I don't think there was any. He just happened to be out there. But that poor guy, like they put the photographs of him out, and it was like, oh, and his license and stuff in the Discovery. If I was him, I would be cross about that. But yeah, Troy's story just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. There's lots of things about Troy's story that doesn't add up to me.
No. Can you guys see that?
Yeah, there's it there.
On the screen. It's like here,
Yeah.
This is where he would be. Also, what I wanted to mention, just a side note, Chris Watts was parking his truck in this area. Do you see that little hand?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how can he take a picture? So Apple records the exact location from where you're standing when you take a picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a friend of mine, Mary, she pointed according to the Discovery location. He was standing basically right here in his truck, and the leak was here. So the photograph he took of the leak, how can he take that photograph of the leak, which is here, when he's standing over there? Like, this is another thing what, kind of baffles me.
Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense at all. So this might be worth talking about as well when we go.
And then you guys also narrowed down to the actual spot where Troy parked his work van outside Anadarko's offices, and it's a real trek to the front door of the office.
Yeah.
So there was something in that truck that he did not want anybody seeing.
Yeah, that's what I think too. And they are saying like there's a storage kind of shed or something where Anadarko keeps their tools. So where the workers go in and, to fill up, get a rake or get a shovel or get tools in general. But, normally you would park there, get your tools, what you need for the job, and then drive to the head office. This is why leave your car there or your truck and walk for 7 minutes. This makes absolutely no sense to me.
No, it makes no sense at all.
So it might be worth looking into this.
Guys in chat are asking about Facebook. Now, guys, the only thing to remember is if you're clicking on the Chris Watts behind closed doors data analysis group, you have to answer all the questions or you'll not get in. Okay, so there's questions about it's one question about the Discovery.
I have one group that's big with like 11 or 10,000 members or something.
Yes, that's the other one.
If you are lightly or quick offended, don't join, because I'm a friend of free speech and I let everybody say their opinion on cases and stuff. And I only, get into mix into conversations if people go real life or involving their kids or go private or something like that.
Yeah,
But,
if it gets too hairy, don't jump in. But apart from that, it is intense.
Yeah, the other group we wanted to keep, basically to people who are really interested in this case.
Like this group here of people.
Exactly. And that's why we came up with a tricky entrance question. So if you definitely won't be approved if you don't answer that question. So we just want to keep, trolls out and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, none of you guys are trolls, but
there's Canadian is in both because she's a genius.
Yeah, exactly.
Canadian, you get a big star.
Just go to my main page, the Red X Crime Files. And then when you on the main page, just click on groups and it should come up. So then you can choose what group you actually want to join. We also have a big group on the Vallow case for Tylee and JJ. This is coming up big now, and I'm sure I'm going to make some live streams about that case too. But it hurts me to do and talk about this case.
It's crazy frustrating as well with everything that's happened this week. Crazy frustrating. I mean, it's just political games now we're into.
Yeah.
We're really into playing games at this point.
Yeah, if I even think about it, I'm sweating. It's just ridiculous, this case is. But I can recommend if you go to J is for Justice. She does really good live streams and videos about the Vallow case.
Yeah, she had an amazing live stream yesterday, I believe.
Yeah, she posted
the day before. Great content.
Posted some streams, I believe, in my group as well. So just have a look. She does awesome on these cases.
Right.
But I'm just not that far emotionally to do something on this. So yeah, I will definitely, but not at this time.
If you guys are interested in looking at another case outside of Watts to kind of get your head shard, go look at Todd Mullis. And again, J for Justice has really good information on Todd Mullis. She followed the trial and put all the videos up. But someone in chat here tonight, I don't know if she's still here because it's crazy time, but Laurie Moore, she is a real advocate for Todd. She is my friend in chat tonight who's bounced on because she's doing some really great work behind the scenes to try and help Todd out. It's one of the biggest, most crazy cases you have ever seen of complete injustice. Like, I would put everything I own that Todd is not guilty and he has been sentenced to life in jail for the murder of his wife. And it's just insanity. Like, if you watch the trial, anyone that's watched the trial will know what I'm talking about, but you need to go look at Todd Mullis if you can stand to watch the injustice of it. But it's a great speedy trial, so it's not a lot of content in the sense that you're not going to be there for like weeks watching the trial. And Court TV showed it as well, so you can watch it on there if you don't go to J for Justice. But definitely another good one to get into and one to really watch and put yourself in his shoes and go, oh my goodness, like, is this what you get if you go for a jury trial and people don't know what they're talking about and the prosecution is really shady? Like, really shady. It made me very scared to ever be accused of anything in Iowa because it was so far from being fair. Oh my God, in any state, yeah, but like, really, this
especially
was
in Texas, since they have this law of parties rule. Like, even if you're a bystander and you saw something and you cannot, prove that you have nothing to do with them, they put you to death, man. That's really
oh my
crazy.
Goodness.
And yeah, talking about death row and stuff, I'm also having a page about death. It's called Death Row Stories by Red X Crime. And I also wanted to be doing, all the innocent people that were executed and stuff. If you guys are interested in like a little YouTube series on that, I definitely can do that as well, because that's really interesting. There are people executed. Then after they've been executed, it turns out they were innocent, actually. So they have pretty gruesome stories to tell, you know. So yeah, definitely go to a little mini series on that.
Someone in chat says, please stop. Nobody will read it. Saying he's innocent is insane. If you're talking about Todd Mullis, you're insane. Everybody can have their own opinion, but my goodness, that is just crazy.
So Dustin, you both are the most foolish human beings I've ever heard. Okay.
No problem, Dustin. Thanks for joining us tonight and
Why
for your
attacking?
contributions.
I mean, I haven't seen you before in the chat or on my channel. So
Isn't it funny that that's always the way?
Foolish. So come up with something and we can talk about it. No problem.
Yeah, Dustin. Thanks for your contribution.
Oh my God.
Yeah, okay, Dustin. No problem. What are we making up again? Evidence? Okay. No, that wasn't us. That was other people that made that up. But thanks for your contribution. So guys, yeah, anybody that has any suggestions about what you would like to see covered, leave us a little comment. Unless your name's Dustin Lott, don't bother. And we will certainly get back to you in the comments section during the week at some point if you guys leave us
Yes.
any requests.
What I also wanted to say, don't be mad if we don't respond to every single comment or, you know, putting a heart on every single comment. I had a rough week since my granddad is in hospital, and basically Danielle was on her own. So it was overwhelming, but we made the 1,000 subscribers. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. Like even the difference in people on tonight, there's so many new people. It's fabulous. Like everybody is like, we're so glad to see you guys here.
Right. And yeah, just don't be mad if we don't get back to you right away. We read most of the comments, not every comment, of course, but most of the comments. And yeah, we definitely get back to you guys. But this was just a rough week for both of us. So
yeah, it's just been a tough one, Tanya. So hopefully next week brings better things.
Oh yeah, definitely. Okay, guys, to wrap it up, next week, Saturday, same time, I guess, Danielle?
Yeah, that I would imagine so. We'll post it anyway during the week and we'll hopefully see you guys there.
I posted here on the live stream and I pin it to the top so you guys will be notified definitely on what topic we're gonna do next.
Yeah. And if you guys are out and about, just watch out overhead for any falling FOSS check. You know, you don't want to end up with any hot pink falling on you during the week.
But
now you know what it is.
Right, exactly.
Have a good week, guys. Enjoy your weekend.
Have a good day. Have a good weekend. Have a nice Sunday. And see you next week. Bye-bye.
Take care, guys. Bye.